that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one, man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man, so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
We always get a very energetic but distracted Stugotz this week because it's Masters Week and he comes in doing finger guns and saying, can you feel it, Dan? But we can get and milk some good material out of that because his energy, his just general caring about sports is larger this week than it usually is. And so he asked coming in today, and I asked Juju to put it on the poll at Le Batard Show, did Rick Pitino immediately emerge from his coffin this morning and have his agent call Kentucky at Le Batard Show? Because it is rare what happened overnight, something that no one saw coming.
Well, I did. I mean, I tried to tell you back in February. You weren't listening to me. I told you, listen, Dan, you have no idea what's going on in the Bluegrass State. Kentucky fans never happy with Calipari. Tried to tell you.
Okay, what you tried to tell me is that they were going to fire him. What you did not tell me is that he's got a billionaire friend in Arkansas who would make him the Arkansas coach for 5 years because he's the head of the Tyson food chain, and Calipari out of nowhere, goes from Kentucky to Arkansas and avoids whatever it is that was coming his way at Kentucky. And if you're Calipari, like Nick Saban in Alabama, I do understand how you'd get tired of what those people's expectations are. And you're like, oh, you don't like me here? All right, I'll take it someplace else where they will like that. I'll always make my team top 20 and not expect it to be number one. What was that moaning sound you made, Bill?
Well, this is a classic I'm breaking up with you before you break up with me situation. You know, everybody knew that was ending. Stugotz tried to tell us. He tried to tell us. No one wanted to listen, and then it started playing out the way it played out, and he was the one. He was the breaker-upper, not the breaker-uppy.
Okay, but 5 years from your billionaire friend who's a booster at Arkansas means that you're breaking up and ending up in a better position for yourself where you're going to be more appreciated in the relationship.
You don't break up with someone to date an ugly person. Come on, get out of here. That's crazy.
Unless you have somewhere, somewhere better to go, Dan. Everyone knows that.
You always. That's why it's called break up, not break down, Dan.
It is a step down, though. Is it not? In jobs?
Yes. But maybe it won't be because he's there and he makes the matter by himself. Today is a super rare day. In fact, I wouldn't just say it's super rare. I would say it's unprecedented in the history of college basketball. Normally, today, many shows, probably not this one, but many shows would begin with previewing that the championship of men's basketball is being played tonight. But that is not where today will begin, and it represents a seismic shift in the viewing habits of college basketball that the championship decided yesterday with the women had more storyline narratives that were interesting and connect with audience than what it is that the men are doing tonight, even though the men have the most giant dude in the game, college basketball player of the year. Edie is a giant person who makes the game unpleasant to watch.
Going against a team that is going for back-to-back NCAA championships.
Correct, but you had Caitlin Clark yesterday playing against undefeated South Carolina, and while the result wasn't surprising, I thought Caitlin Clark would be a bigger underdog than she was in that game. The result was sort of unsatisfying, but it does represent a change, Stugotz, that I did not see coming with the ratings on Saturday night, where everybody on Sunday somehow Dan Orlovsky. Everybody wanted to be a referee from Saturday night till Sunday morning on a single call in a women's basketball game that was being watched by 15 million people, which puts it at a number, Stugotz. And I don't know what the number was going to be for yesterday's game, but I'm guessing it's going to be a football number. It's Sunday at 3 o'clock. And I don't know how many of us had the idea that that number, a football number, could be done at 3 o'clock on a Sunday by anything happening in women's basketball, even as much as a year ago. But the build-up to this has been fascinating to watch. And I know some people like Jay Williams will say that Caitlin Clark will not be remembered as the greatest of all time because she did not win a championship. She was overmatched in that basketball game by a team that hasn't lost in a couple of years.
I hate to do this, Dan, because you just brought up a few good points that we need to talk about, but I want to take this back really quick to the video of Stugotz predicting the Coach Cal thing, because I want to point out one thing specifically. So let's play this video first.
No fan base goes from wanting to fire their coach to booking their trip to the Final Four on a game-to-game basis, quite like Kentucky.
That's not true. No, who's firing?
Oh, God.
Who's firing Calipari?
They fire their coach every other day. I mean, are you paying attention to what's going on in the Bluegrass States?
Calipari was number one every year, and they want him to stay number one. And he's not. No one wants him. Okay, very good.
That was yesterday. Today's today.
All right.
You are wearing the exact same outfit, Stugotz.
Oh, of course I am. It's my Monday outfit.
Same hat, same sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And Dan is wearing the exact same color, but a different shirt slightly. But you are wearing the exact same outfit.
It's my Mondays.
Is there another point you wanted to make off of that? You just wanted to point out that he was wearing the same thing, that he was wearing exactly the same clothes? He spent about 4 months here wearing the same clothes. It was about 4 straight months. You can't take a victory lap on that, Stugotz. That's not you trying.
I am.
But that's not you telling us that he was going to end up at Arkansas.
Well, he didn't know the destination, but he knew the breakup was imminent.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't he take a victory lap from that?
Right.
If anyone thinks that Stugotz did that first clip this morning and we're messing with you, you can see the sweat stains on the hat currently that didn't exist back in February.
Thank you.
But same amount of stubble, weirdly, too. Yeah. You must shave on the same day every week.
My Monday stubble. Yep. Sunday shave.
Sunday
nights.
Let's get the video real quick. All I think of when I think of Kentucky basketball is I think of Billy Gillispie. He was involved in some sort of controversy at Kentucky. The media was circling all around him. And Billy Gillispie did one of the worst I've got to pick up a fake phone calls that I have ever seen in the entirety of my life, where he's pretending as he walks by the media to be on the phone and cannot comment. Cannot comment because is that a flip phone? It's a flip phone he's using. Walking through the rain in Kentucky. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, I'm going to call.
No comment. I cannot comment. The result after Stugotz watching the game on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yesterday's result was unsatisfying because it didn't have as much drama as I would have liked toward the end of the game. When at the end of that game, all it was is Caitlin Clark's going to shoot from wherever it is that she can the last few minutes of the game, and it's all falling apart, and there's a desperation, and she's just going to try and make a 3 from distance, and now it's a double-digit lead, and South Carolina's getting all the offensive rebounds.
It was fairly obvious, even while Iowa got out to a quick start and they had a lead, that South Carolina was the better team. They were a deeper team, a taller team, a better rebounding team. They were just a better team.
Yeah, it's so rare to go undefeated for an entire season and win the championship. And South Carolina came so close to it last year until they lost to Iowa in the Final Four. But this year they were able to pull off the perfect season. And their bench players had 37 points in the championship game. And Iowa's bench players had 0. And when you can put in a 8 or 9 player rotation and not have your players getting tired or not have to worry about foul trouble for your players because you have someone that is an incredible player that's just going to come in right behind them. I don't know how you beat that. And Dawn Staley has just done such an incredible job at South Carolina building up that program and creating a culture where players want to come there and play for her, and she's going to coach them really hard, and she's going to promise her team she'll win them a championship, and now she's won 3 of them. She didn't get an opportunity to win one in 2020 because of COVID, but they were definitely the favorite that year too. So I think you just have to give Dawn Staley a ton of credit for this team, because not only were her seniors great in that game, but the freshmen made such a big difference, and they're going to be there for probably 3 or 4 years now, and they're just going to be the team to beat as long as Dawn Staley's there.
She does a great job of representing her sport and the emotions of everything after the game for her in classy celebration of Caitlin Clark. Was fun to watch, emotional to watch, but I have one quibble. She says that Clark is one of the GOATs. Pick one. You can only have one GOAT. There's only one. You've got to pick what you got to pick one GOAT. You can't have multiple GOATs. You can't say one of the GOATs. There's one GOAT.
It's a fair point by you.
If you're calling someone one of the GOATs, you're saying that they're not.
Well, that's what she was saying. She's saying that she's great. She did a lot for the game. She is not the greatest player of all time. That's what she was saying.
Correct. It was not an insult. She did not mean it as an insult. It may have been what she was saying because we're doing that to her. She was trying and did a very good job of articulating all of the positive things of grace and in triumph. But my one quibble is pick a side.
Can't greatest be plural also?
Greatest.
I agree that you can be one of the greatest of all time, but if you're going to go with the word GOAT, there can only be one GOAT.
Well, that's a stupid word anyways.
It is stupid. I tweeted yesterday that Dawn Staley is the GOAT, and UConn fans immediately got upset with me, and I don't care because it's a made-up thing that we say anyways, but Gino was the GOAT. Gino was the GOAT. Dawn is the GOAT. There's GOATs. GOATs change. You can pass down GOATdom to someone else, and then someone else becomes the GOAT, and you can be, you can coexist as GOATs together. Yeah.
There can only be one GOAT, though, at any given time. Dan is right about this. You can't have multiple GOATs.
Gino can be the GOAT if he wins another championship. He hasn't won one in 8 years, though.
Right.
So he's not the GOAT right now. Dawn's the GOAT.
You also can't be the greatest of all time until it's all said and done, right? Because the greatest could be coming still.
When all the smoke is cleared?
Right. Unless you're Jordan.
When the dust settles, then you'll know the GOAT.
Right.
When all is said and done, you mean when the apocalypse arrives and there's no more speech?
The eclipse today.
Today.
The world has just become rubble.
The end of time, Dano.
It would be great if the end of time came, right? And the last.
Well, no, that would not be great.
But then we got to decide.
Well, let me
who the
hear
GOAT
it out.
was.
Yeah, let's go down this path, gang.
That's how we spend our final
Exactly
hours.
right. The last hour is us saying, okay, sports are done. Now we can actually. This is the end.
Right.
There's no need to panic. There's nothing we can do here to solve it. We're all gonna die.
If the world ended today.
Exactly right. The world's ending in an hour. Let's sit. Let's enjoy and have some healthy sports discourse with the last hour of time we have and decide the greatest of all time at everything. And this is actually it. This is where this ends.
Have you guys seen the preview for that horrifying Civil War movie that's coming out? I think in that movie they do this. Once they realize it's all over, they're like, before we kill everyone, let's really debate here. Who is the GOAT in basketball?
The end of Don't Look Up, spoiler alert, by our friend Adam McKay. And this was quite the wrestling match that he had with Netflix about ending his movie with, spoiler alert, the end of the world. Not a lot of movies end with the world ending.
Tough to make a sequel.
And it creates a certain despair.
The world could always come back, though. I mean,
it's a certain despair that you have in the middle of what it is that you're doing there that suggests perhaps that you don't really want, as a moviegoer, to leave the movie theater with the filmmaker telling you that the world has ended. But in those last moments, he had a number of scenes of what people would do. And what Stugotz would do is absolutely call together a caucus to decide once and for all who is the best in sports, where, and let's decide now that all is about to be said and done.
What a way to spend the final 60 minutes. Seriously.
It would be
deciding
fun.
who the GOATs are.
Yeah.
I would have an award show.
There's also
the worldies.
we can make so many categories of GOATs
Yeah.
too, right? The world, it would take more than an hour, but if we're talking about Dawn Staley versus Gino, you have to talk about Dawn being player of the year before she became coach of the year multiple times and being an Olympic player and then an Olympic coach and being a gold medalist doing both things. So, I guess they're just different categories of GOATs. Like the best coach that was the best player.
No, you can't do it
the
like
best
that.
coach
Well, that's
that
what
was
the
never
worldies
a
are all
player.
about.
Jessica, knock it off with the nuance. It's the apocalypses. Like, if we're going to give the awards of the apocalypses, it's not going to have nuance. It's not going to be this category and that category. We got to hurry up. All is about
Well, no,
to be
keep it tight. No acceptance speeches.
said
Enough
and
of that
done.
shit.
Right,
Right,
that's
and it's the worldies. That's a fine.
I changed it to the apocalypses.
Imagine the worldies and you're there, the apocalypses or whatever you want to call it, and you go and you start giving a world to the go and they're like, carbon footprint. And it's like, shut the f up. The world is ending in 5 minutes. Like, enough with this already.
Jessica, what did you just eat there?
Don't worry about it.
Well, what? It was blue? What?
No, it's one of these. Charlotte and I actually used to eat these on the road all the time. These perfect bars. I don't know why I'm eating it right now. Normally I eat it after the first hour.
It's
but I was
unusual
hungry.
timing.
Yeah.
Remember when she used to reference Charlotte before we all knew her so
Her
well?
friend
Now
Charlotte Wilder, yes.
I feel more connected now.
You should reference another friend, and we'll hire them. Not
Priya.
another one. That's what Tony did.
You may have noticed that Billy is in a better mood today because his Marlins, he missed several days last week because his Marlins started the season 0-8 or 0-9?
0-9.
0-9.
Yeah.
Off the schneid.
Happens.
And,
Undefeated in the last game, though.
and they finally won a game yesterday after having their entire season already ruined, I would imagine.
It's early. There's time. 162, Dan.
Time for what? To
Well,
lose
you're gonna lose-
160 of them?
Well, you're going to lose more than 9 games a season. I don't think any team has ever only lost 9 games. So, there's time here.
Get it out of the way early?
Exactly right. That's right, Dan. You get it. Lose them now, not in the playoffs. That's what I always say.
Just 6 back.
Just 6 back. I mean, it's
About the
only
wild card.
a week in. Just 6 back. For whatever reason, they voided the club option year of their manager of the year, which is odd, but we're figuring it out, I guess.
Did you go to the wild card standings already?
No, I mean, you said 6 back. I bet it's better in the wild card. A little closer
Well,
there.
there's 3 now,
We checked the wild card.
I think.
Thank
Always
you, guys.
changing.
Thank you for all the excellent analysis on Marlins baseball.
right.
I'm sure that many people here who are tuning in for their Marlins coverage appreciate how well you guys did that.
What
Just
else is
4.5
there really
back.
to say about the
Zagacki.
Marlins?
There was a rain delay yesterday when they were up 9.
Which is
heading to the
hilarious,
bottom.
by the
Oh,
way.
my God. It was the worst. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Up there, up 9, finally going to get your win, and then they bring out the tarp. Like, just concede the game. Then, sure enough, when they come back, the bullpen gives up 2 runs, and it's like, uh-oh, maybe they're not going to win this game. But they did. They won it.
Dan,
Yes.
more alarming, the Marlins or the Heat?
Ooh.
Discuss amongst yourselves.
We'll get to the Heat in just a second, but I want to circle back around to what you said about the E-Clipse because it seems like you and I, Jessica, are interested in the way that nature is awe-inspiring, and there are some people around here who are vastly less interested in nature and the world, being an awesome place. What are you laughing about, Roy?
The E-Clipse. You made it like an internet thing. Huh?
Like eBay?
Yeah, like eBay. Like insurance.
Email.
No, I want an assortment.
Eclair.
I want to buy an assortment of clips. Where can I go? E-Clipse. But Jessica and I are interested in this, and you guys keep poo-pooing.
E-Clipse, the
Enough.
digital barber.
Yeah. I mean, enough of it. I'm tired of it. People traveling to Syracuse, New York, traveling to Buffalo, spending all their money, getting a pair of glasses that you can only get, every time an eclipse comes around, which is like every 30 years. Enough of it. You want to see darkness during the day? Go to Iceland. Go to Reykjavik. Enough of the eclipse. I'm serious. It's, Dan, a lot to do about nothing. Who cares? It's going to be dark for 24 minutes during the day. Woohoo!
You're just jealous that we're not getting it down here.
We get eclipses all the time.
I get 'em all.
Like every time,
You
it's
do?
like this is the only eclipse. I
went
remember
to
at
Iceland.
least 3 eclipses of my lifetime, and every time it's like, well, don't look at it. It's like, well, then why are you telling me about it? Like, why do I want to know about something that's so great if I can't see it? Not interested. You know what it looks like at the darkness? I'll look at it at 8 o'clock tonight. I'll see the same thing. It's an eclipse.
But it's not the same. It's not just dark. Have you guys?
I can't look, and also no one goes blind. Let's just get out in
That's
front of it
not
right
true.
now.
That's
No one
not
goes blind.
I saw a video
There's
this
not a
morning of a
case.
woman who said that she stared at the eclipse, whatever
Yeah.
it was. 6
I saw a
years
video
ago.
of a cheerleader walking backwards because she got a flu shot, and then that was fake.
Philly.
Seems a little reckless saying
And
that
she
you
said
can't
she
go blind.
can't see. Chris Cody tried to do the disclaimer on Friday. It was a very weak one, but he tried, and now Billy is just all over that.
I'm not a medical expert, but I'm just saying, I feel like there's not a ton of cases of people that have just gone blind and they go into the hospital like, what happened? And they're like,
I looked up at the
Because we
eclipse.
get the message out not to look at it. And most people follow that, except the lady that I saw on Twitter and President Trump.
Both lunar and solar eclipses happen 2 to 3 times a year.
Huh.
So it happens pretty
Over
often.
North America?
Well, not over North America, across the world.
That's
There's
why
another
it's
one
unique
this
because
year.
it's over North America.
It's in the middle of the ocean, but there's another one.
Billy, you are being irresponsible. People, people do lose their vision. I mean, there are school children being left inside. I don't know. I think Arkansas declared a state of emergency because of the eclipse.
Well, it's Arkansas, though.
True.
They ended that when they got Calipari, though.
Exactly
They're like,
right.
we're good.
Right.
Yeah, we're good. Emergency's off.
Equals out.
Does Stugotz? I've not been to Iceland nor Reykjavik, obviously, if I haven't been to Iceland.
Yeah.
But does it indeed do what Stugotz is saying, dark during the day? Because I know Alaska doesn't have a lot of dark for much time, where you're just getting sunshine all of the time, or daylight. But is what Stugotz is saying, is that correct about Iceland, that it's often dark, or is he just making that up?
In the winter, I don't think they get a lot of sunlight. But then in the summer, I think they do get an exceptional amount of sunlight. But I also have not been to Iceland.
Well, Stugotz is now clicking furiously with his sausage fingers because he doesn't appear to be sure. Or
There are 20-hour nights in Reykjavik during the wintertime. So you can go to Iceland, and, if you're interested in seeing what it looks like during the
it's not just
daytime.
that it's dark out,
Yeah.
though. I feel like we're missing the point of
What?
the eclipse.
What is the point?
It's cool.
Nah.
That's the point. It's cool.
By the way, also, you should never stare directly into the sun. Like, not
That's
just at
correct.
the time of an eclipse.
You're right about that.
Like, just don't stare into the sun.
But people
Science.
feel the urge to stare into it when they see the moon passing in between them and the sun, and that is why you have to be especially careful during the eclipse, because it's like, oh, it's dark, you're not going to hurt your eyes, but no, actually you can.
I'm seeing Iceland during the November, December, January, February months get around 4 to 6 hours of daylight a day.
Yep, thank you.
You were correct, Stugotz. Let me see if I can.
Stugotz was right? Holy Stugotz was right.
So he's right twice today, like a clock, a broken one.
Yeah.
I saw that Matt Barnes told the following story, Stugotz, and Shaq as prankster seems it would be far less cute if you were on the wrong end of the pranks. So Matt Barnes was telling the stories, and you've heard some of these stories of Shaq peeing in sneakers of teammates. But the grossest one he told, and I believe this should be an HR violation, that retroactively Shaq should be punished by the league for what it is I'm about to say to you that he did, according to Matt Barnes, to Lou Amundsen. Do you remember Amundsen? He had like a
I do, yes.
He played with a ponytail. He
Yep.
was a teammate. He was easy.
I hope he was a teammate.
He was easy to pick on. Apparently, during an entire practice, Shaq had Amundsen's mouth guard lodged under his testicle.
In the worst area, you could have that thing.
For an entire practice, yes. And then they put it back in Lou's locker.
Oh,
Right.
And then he put it in his mouth during the game. And when he did, he immediately took it out and threw it because he knew Shaq was doing something, but he didn't know what Shaq was going to do. And then the announcers just started on the broadcast talking about, and the Suns having a lot of fun in their huddle there because all of his teammates were laughing. And I'm dead serious when I say to you, if you were a jury of peers and they took that in front of you as a criminal trial, I would give Shaq jail time for that. Never mind workplace malpractice.
How many years?
I'm not years. You don't have to make it years.
Okay.
1 month.
But Shaq needs
Cup of coffee?
Shaq needs to spend time in prison for what he did to a teammate. It has to go well beyond checking in with Phoenix Suns human resources and someone like Amin El-Hassan. It has to go beyond that. It has to go into our federal court system and result today. I'm calling
Not enough, actually.
I'm calling for this today. The statute of limitations is not up on this. I think the last time we administered jail time around here, it was for Mike Greenberg for suggesting that UConn would win professional basketball games or get to the playoffs in the East or something like that. It was some absurd thing because UConn is better than everyone, has been better than everyone for the last couple of years. Out of curiosity, Stugotz, what do you think the point spread? There's a correct answer to this that Dan Patrick actually did the work of doing by calling DraftKings. But what do you think the point spread would be if UConn was playing the Detroit Pistons? I don't think the Pistons are the worst team in the league. I think the Washington Wizards are. But for the purposes
Same team, though.
of this discussion, what do you imagine the point spread would be if there was one game tonight between the Detroit Pistons and the UConn men's basketball team?
I would say the Pistons minus 10.
Jessica, why are you laughing at that?
Pistons minus 10 against a college basketball team?
Yeah.
Pistons are the worst team in the league, by the way.
They had a guy who scored 50 points from the bench last week, though.
Yeah.
Malachi. I don't know his last
Your
name.
guy, yeah.
He went from 50. I think he scored 0 the next game. I don't know
Probably.
how often. I don't know. I think that's what happened.
Oh, you're
I don't-
averaging
I-
25 a game in 2
per.
games.
The
Yeah,
fact that he
right.
could. I mean,
I don't think that 50 off the bench is kind of amazing. But DraftKings says no. The point spread would be 45.
I was going to guess 40, actually, but I was too scared.
That's what Dan Hurley needs, honestly. A little humble pie. This guy's feeling himself right now. Every press conference, he loves him some him.
I believe Adrian Wojnarowski has been writing glowing tapestries, romantic tapestries about his coaching style since he was doing whatever it was. He was coaching high schools famously, was he not? Before he went to UConn, and he has a style that is very coach and very coach from another time, and he is feeling himself, and he should be feeling himself because what he has built in UConn, they don't have any ordained right to continue being that good once you start paying players all over the place. But he is compounding the Calhoun legacy at UConn because they still have the best program in the country. What kind of favorite are they tonight against Zach Edey and the Boilermakers?
Same spread as yesterday's game, 6.5. I saw it.
But they haven't had any. They haven't had either any close games in this tournament or close point spreads in this tournament, have they?
They've won every game by double digits, I believe, including the game on Saturday, which they kind of were not as dominant in, but they still won by double digits, I believe. I have heard a lot of people debating whether or not the 3 p.m. Eastern start time for the women's game is giving that game the audience it deserves and if they should be also playing in prime time. But I can tell you right now, hand to God, I will not be awake for this game tonight. And 3 p.m. on a Sunday, mwah, chef's kiss, perfect. Yeah. Never change it.
It was perfect. Yeah.
Could I do 6 p.m.? Yes. Yeah, I could do 6 p.m.
That's what I wanted.
But 3 p.m., I'll take it. I love it. Never, ever, please, ever move that game to 9:20 on a Monday night. Ever. Ever. Please, Lord, please.
Yesterday's game was doomed to be anticlimactic after Saturday's, correct? After you're having everyone complain.
Fridays.
Fridays, thank you.
Yep.
You're having everyone complain after Friday's game that the game would be decided by a referee, even though technically it is a moving screen. And I'd be totally fine, honestly. Totally fine if you simply eradicated screens of all kinds in basketball, just because that doesn't seem fair or right to me, that you're just standing around being a 6'7", 270-pound person getting in everybody's way. It just doesn't seem like how I would want to be playing basketball all the time. I understand why it's so, but I'd be totally fine, not just eradicating the moving screen, all screens from the game. I understand that it would entirely distort and change the way basketball is played.
I'm not sure about that, removing screens entirely, but I will say, as someone who has been a hater of the UConn Huskies for my entire life, their women's basketball team specifically, it was very funny watching the fallout of that call at the end of the game and this game's rigged for Iowa, or the refs are doing this for ratings and all this stuff going against UConn, because for my entire life it's been UConn gets every call, all the games are rigged for UConn, and I'm not saying that that's true, but that's been like the, fan conspiracy forever.
They've had their moments.
They've had so many moments. And UConn is one of the greatest women's basketball programs in history, and the records that Gino Auriemma has at UConn will probably never be broken. They're so prolific. He's been there for like 40 freaking years, right? And coached some of the GOATs, you could say.
There's only one GOAT.
But it was so funny to watch. And then seeing Iowa fans be like, why does ESPN have so many former UConn players on their broadcast? This isn't fair. We have Rebecca Lobo on the call. We have Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird doing this simulcast, and I'm just sitting there cackling to myself because I had truly like no skin in that game. I wanted to see Caitlin Clark play in the championship because I thought it would make it more interesting, but I really didn't care who won. I guess I was rooting for Lucy also, but man, that was funny. That was a funny ass night.
Roy, why do people have skin in the game? Can you get to the bottom, please, for me, of why it is there is ever skin in a game? Something that I failed to talk about enough last week, Stugotz, I brought it up in passing, but I think it's Dallas's mayor has said, hey, Dallas cares enough about football and is big enough in order to have multiple football teams. I am suggesting that the Kansas City Chiefs feel welcome to move from Kansas City, if they're having so many problems getting a new stadium, to Dallas. And one of the things, and I just mentioned it in passing, but I actually want to explore it with you guys, because I believe in capitalism and because I hate the way that the rich people in the NFL put in rules because they can't actually control themselves. They put in an assortment of rules so that they can't have the situation where Jerry Jones is bidding against a family for things that he can just buy because he has more money. So they put limits on all this stuff. But I want you to think for a moment of what city right now would be in a position, if everything were truly free in a marketplace, to put down a stadium as collateral to get the next 10 years of Patrick Mahomes. What city would be willing, because they always strong-arm their cities. Buffalo is going to end up getting a stadium that they do not need, that is a waste of money, because we insist on always giving these billionaires more. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to me in any instance that we give any of these people anything to build their stadiums, but it's been normalized. And so I actually want to explore with you guys the idea of the Kansas City Chiefs as a free agent. The entire organization will take its two-time Super Bowl champion. If the rules allow
your city?
To your city, to the highest bidder.
The player is signing the team.
To the highest bidder.
Skin in the game has originated from the world of finance and investing. It refers to having a personal stake in the success of a venture or investment.
But why skin? That doesn't really... I know what the definition of skin in the game is, but I don't know why it's skin.
Well, the idea is when someone has skin in the game, they are more likely to act in a responsible and careful manner, as they have something to lose if the venture fails.
Like their skin?
Yeah.
Like their
skin.
Like their own
Skin is
skin.
on
You're going to lose your
You got to
skin.
peel off a piece of skin, Dan, put it in the game.
Yeah, skin is the largest organ in the body and covers the body's entire external surface.
Correct.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have skin in that game.
Also called epidermis.
It's made up of 3 layers, the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis, all 3 of which vary significantly in their anatomy and function.
The first time someone told me my epidermis was showing, I was very alarmed.
Like your weenus.
Yeah.
You specifically
I clutched.
coming in with also known as epidermis. Right. You specifically offering that as an addendum.
One of the dermises.
It's just helpfully offering us, and unnecessarily, right? Because everyone knew what we meant by skin. No one. I understand if you went the other way. If someone had said epidermis and you helpfully offered skin, that's not what you did.
You made it harder.
You decided uselessly to give us a synonym for some reason for skin.
The first degree.
It's not often that I get to flex around here, all right? I had that in the holster, and I'm using it.
But why?
Because one time, a long time ago, some kid said to me, your epidermis is showing, and I got scared, and then I learned, epidermis is just skin.
The first time, it is alarming when someone says that to you.
The first time, this is like a common thing that people
It's a thing
say?
amongst kids. Like, hey, your epidermis is showing, and then you think it's like your penis or something. You're like, what?
It's a
What's
classic.
showing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time, like, oh,
I learned last week what a weenus is. I did not know what a weenus was. You guys all shamed me. Everybody evidently knows what that is. That's something that kids are saying is like the elbow skin. But if somebody said your weenus is showing or said that to me as a child, I probably would have reacted the same way that Chris Cody reacted when they told him his epidermis was showing. Yesterday, Stugotz, I don't know if you saw this in the late game, but I haven't seen this happen in the 21-year career of LeBron James. He shows up to the game, a home game.
Yep.
And then goes home with flu-like symptoms.
The rare Sunday night off.
And coincidentally, they'd rather play Minnesota than Denver in the first round. And they gave Minnesota a win at Los Angeles. And a lot of people are saying that that's maneuvering because you just don't want to see the Nuggets if you're the Lakers. Now, I believe the Timberwolves gave the Nuggets more trouble. The Timberwolves match up better with Denver than just about anybody. And I think Minnesota gave Denver more trouble 1-8 last year than just about anybody that wasn't the Lakers. But do you think there's anything to the idea that LeBron James would be avoiding anybody? Because we have not seen LeBron James show up to the arena and leave with flu-like symptoms. That's a 21-year career that's not something I remember happening not once.
It's a weird move because if you're going to drive all the way there, like you might as well play, right? No one wants to drive all the way to work and then be like, oh, I don't feel good.
To say you're sick,
right, Stu?
Yeah. Exactly right. I don't know if that's what the Lakers are doing, and they still have to play the Warriors and get past the Warriors in a play-in game if the season ended today.
Well, this game, they've got a game on Tuesday night, the Warriors and the Lakers do, that's going to feel like the last vestiges of two eras facing off against each other. Probably a little bit dangerous to start with your maneuvering this early, but a lot of people are making that leap. I'm not making that leap, but the behavior is something that doesn't have a precedent, so I understand why people would be suspicious in the age of conspiracy theory. An interesting thing happened over the weekend in hip-hop, Stugotz, and I'm aware that as a 55-year-old, I sound ridiculous exploring some of these subjects and the idea of beef in hip-hop as a subject. But a lot of people right now are talking about J.Cole, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar because Kendrick Lamar is an exceptional writer, is respected as a rapper's rapper, is respected by all in the industry as being a real creative and artist, as good as anybody who has ever held a microphone. And he went at J.Cole and Drake by saying there is no big three, there's just big me. And J. Cole and Drake have been tempted to respond because these things tend to escalate, and the history of this game is there's only one goat. There can't be several goats, and when somebody claims to be the goat or goes at someone else, then that person is basically obligated to respond. And I just love that J. Cole went the total other way. Now, in rap and hip hop, if, Benzino is weeping because because Eminem will not acknowledge him, Benzino is viewed as a laughingstock and weak because he is somebody that doesn't know how to just keep the beef alive. So this is viewed in many circles. What J. Cole did this weekend is viewed in many circles as weak or afraid that Kendrick Lamar would go after him and that J. Cole's response would be to apologize. To apologize. That is really unusual in beef.
Quite the zag.
And I love that he did it. And not only did he apologize, but he did it like introspectively, talking for 3 minutes about how he thought that when he disparaged Kendrick Lamar many years ago, that it was the lamest shit he's ever done in his life. He called it, something that spiritually felt bad, and that it disrupts his peace now to be in the middle of this and have all his friends telling him that he's got to go back at Kendrick Lamar, that it's wartime, that there has to be blood. And he said he was conflicted, and eventually he just said his spirit, his way of being, how he's trying to live his life at this point, it's just not something he wants to entertain as back and forth. So he denies us the entertainment. He takes the arrows of, really? Kendrick Lamar is going to go after you, and your response is one of the 3 best in the game right now is to apologize? But I think it's noble. I don't think a lot of people are going to look at it that way. It's not the history of that game. They're just words, right? Sometimes, many times in hip-hop, the words escalate into dangerous places that become more than just words. But in this particular case, I really did like that he put his sword down and said, really, Stugotz, these 3 guys are making so much money. Like, what difference does it make whether you're first or third in somebody's opinion? Like, what? I mean, think
Can
about...
only be one GOAT, though, Dan.
I know, but what difference does it make? Yeah, there can only be one GOAT, but you don't have to be hurt if you're second place or third place. Like, there's plenty to go around at this particular trough where all of these guys are making money.
Do you think LeBron is upset that he's in third place? I mean, Kobe in second place? I mean... What do you think?
I don't think anybody puts Kobe in second place.
Well, some people do, some people don't.
Exactly
yeah.
Right.
But all isn't said and done yet, so can we really say?
That's true.
Right.
What's Bronny doing? He's declaring for the draft and entering the portal at the same time.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about this, or are we not allowed to talk about it because he's still just a kid? Because I'm confused about that one.
No, they're all professionals now in the
Well, no,
college
but
game.
LeBron said we couldn't talk about it. He said he's going to be a high pick in the draft, and then when he was not ranked to be a high pick in the draft, he's like, he's just a kid, leave him alone. But now he's entering the draft, so can we talk about it or can we not?
Let's go.
Well, I'm just asking the question.
Okay, so you don't have anything to say about it? You just want me to talk about it? You
Yeah,
want
I'm
me
just
to talk
asking
about
if
it?
we're
asking
allowed
your
to talk
permission,
about it.
yeah.
Yeah, can we
Yeah,
talk
go ahead.
about it? Yeah. So,
You can.
what's he doing? Is he going to the draft or is he transferring out of school?
Keeping his options
Where
open.
is he going to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
How does that work? I thought when you declared for the draft, you forfeit eligibility, don't you?
No agent.
That's right.
I think he can get a draft evaluation and then decide if he wants to play next
You're playing
year
by old
in
rules,
college.
Billy. They have more options in general now, and he's just
But
maximizing
don't
all
quote
of his
me.
options. Why wouldn't he? But many people are saying he is not nearly as good as his father thinks he is, and everything that we have seen from him in college suggests that he's not as good as his name would suggest. But it doesn't mean he's not a pro prospect. It's just there are plenty of people who think that he's got plenty of work to do before he becomes a legitimate pro prospect.
His coach left too, which then started this domino effect, which now brings Coach Cal to Arkansas. Just a wild string of events,
Right.
and I feel like this is all conference realignment's fault.
So you're saying Bronny to Arkansas?
Huh.
No, SMU, I think, Bronny.
I like what LeBron is
maybe
doing, though,
Arkansas.
because this is the only opportunity I think he'll have to ensure that his son is going to be a first-round pick. If you're a team in the NBA that feels like you're a LeBron James away from making a deep run into the NBA playoffs, perhaps winning a championship, Knicks, I'm talking to you, you draft Bronny.
Yeah.
You do, to get LeBron. Yes.
Why are you talking to the Knicks? You told us a month ago you didn't want LeBron.
That was then. This is now, Dan.
That was a world where Coach Cal was coaching in Kentucky. You know? Different world now.
Yep.
Also, all wasn't said and done.
Yeah.
Smoke hadn't cleared yet.
What if Greg Popovich goes and chases his dream to become a D3 coach, and then Bronny goes there because LeBron always wanted to play there?
Chase the dream.
I'm glad you took the topic where you did, Billy. You had so much on it.
You know?
He was just asking.
I do what I can. I just ask a question.
Right.
You do as little as you can.
But, Dan, if you were a LeBron away, if you felt like your organization was perhaps a LeBron James away, because he's still playing, and I can't believe I'm saying this, at such a high level. He's great. He's still great.
I don't want to do the LeBron show. You want to do the
You
LeBron
would draft
show?
his kid to get LeBron?
I would, yes. I would like the economy of LeBron around my basketball team, however it is that I could get it around my basketball team. There are very few teams that I would think couldn't use that economy around them. I just think that basketball has gotten finally to a place where we can stop with LeBron daily conversations. But no, evidently not. I will say, though, as it regards Calipari and the idea that a Tyson Foods billionaire can just buy himself a Calipari, I do embrace the modern age of college sports, where we're going to dispense with any of the nonsense and just say, yep, a billionaire booster can just go buy Calipari. And all of a sudden make Arkansas matter more than it has mattered since Nolan Richardson in basketball.
Who?
When's the last time?
Nolan Richardson. Yeah, they won a championship. They almost went back-to-back. Scotty Thurman, Corliss Williamson. It was a great team.
Yes, Jeremy doesn't have any idea who Nolan Richardson is.
Ryan
Sorry, he's
Express.
82.
Why would he, Roy? Why
You were
would
so
he?
offended.
Why would
He's young. He's young. He's very young. He doesn't know.
But-
Learn your history.
But it has Arkansas.
I'm with Roy, learn your history.
You're going to
idiot.
have to forgive me on not knowing the history here. I don't know if Arkansas has had any kind of sincere relevance since Nolan Richardson.
They had Musselman.
Off the top of my head, isn't he at USC now?
Yes.
Isn't off the top of my head, though, I do not think of them. I think they just bought their way into the game. This is the way you can do it in the modern age. Even if Calipari is falling behind, even if Calipari is not perfectly suited for the NIL era, even though Kentucky and one-and-dones came undone this year and for the last couple of years because he has not been dominating the sport, you buy yourself a Calipari, you've bought yourself immediately into the relevance game. To me, the contract, I don't know how much he's being paid over 5 years, but you get on the front end of that contract, you're getting 5 years worth in the first year because of what he does for your program in immediate ticket sales just by creating hope around what you're doing.
Under Musselman, Arkansas went to back-to-back Elite Eights. So they had a run, and then Musselman had a bad year this year, and he got let go, and now he's at USC. This is going to be interesting. Calipari, Dan, everything you said is right about Calipari, but he made 4 Final Fours with Kentucky, hasn't made one in, I think, 8 or 9 years. So, I mean, how good of a coach is he? Honestly, because he has #1 draft picks all over, his roster is littered with #1 picks, lottery picks, and he hasn't been able to get to Final Fours.
I know, but most coaches who have great success do so because they have great players. You're really going to sit here and say how good of a coach is Calipari? You feel comfortable doing that? Like, if you're comfortable doing that, then who's actually a good coach, Stugotz? Like, go ahead and name all the guys that you have making magic out of nothing, out of having no players. You have to have the...
Well, he's a great recruiter. I'm not saying that he's not.
Okay, but that is enough. What the Tyson Foods billionaire is buying is someone who's a great recruiter. He's had more trouble the last couple of years than others have because it's a new finance age. Like, I do wonder, Nick Saban just left Stugotz, and the sport caught up to him. Like, that's not up for dispute. The fact that he was still at the top is a tribute to him, but the sport caught up to him because there were a different way of doing business that can be hard for an older coach. When Nick Saban is telling you that his wife is saying to him, why are we still doing this when all the player cares about is what's my playing time and what's my money? That's all I care about. There's not a third place. I don't want to see the library. I don't want you to tell me how you're going to make me a better man. What I care about is my playing time and my money. If you strip it down, Stugotz, and give the players freedom, options, money, and no limits, it's going to be about greed and money. It's going to be about how do I best get, according to a 17-year-old's sensibilities, the things that I want. And a 17-year-old is thinking about playing time, money, and toys.
Right. And getting to the NBA, right? Cal's
yes.
good. Yeah, he's a good coach in that regard. Yes.
I mean, he can say that. Nick Saban can say that. And I just don't, like, what are you going to criticize about Calipari's coaching? Go ahead, give me the details.
Well, I'm just saying, hasn't been to a Final Four. With all that talent, he gets the talent to his school, but he hasn't been to a Final Four in 8 years. That's it with all that talent. That's what I'm criticizing. That's it. Yes. Yep.
So that's it.
Get to the Final Four.
Got a point.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, no, sure, get to the Final Four. It's hard to get to the Final Four, but sure. Don't lose. Okay. What makes
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, don't lose one game and one game samples. Okay.
Well, no, for 10 straight seasons.
I think
last time he was there was
winning is kind of the
2015.
point,
Yeah, they're paying him $8.5 million to win.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to replace Calipari at Kentucky? Because I'm thinking Pitino, Billy Donovan, Coach K, or Dawn Staley. Ooh. 109-3 her last 3 seasons with a national championship.
Gonna get right at it here with J.J. Redick. No pleasantries. He is no longer an up-and-comer in the business. He is doing giant things in the media, Stugotz. I have told you. I wonder what his opinion is on what I'm about to say here. I have said a couple of times in the last month, J.J., that you're going to make more money in your media career than you did in your playing career. Am I wrong?
Huh.
That's an interesting take. Hadn't really thought about that. Yeah, I don't know, Dan. I don't know.
How much money's in your bank account right now?
Tell us.
That is
How
not,
rich are you?
That is not what I was asking him. I am just saying he's going to have 20, 25 years to do this, and if he continues conquering at the rate that he's doing it, he's made some very interesting and good choices on what it is that he wants to do. So let me talk to you a little bit about the options you had. Did you turn down an NBA head coaching job?
Not a head coaching job, no. I interviewed last year for the Raptors head coaching job. I was not offered the opportunity to coach that franchise. There was a number of assistant coaching opportunities, particularly my first sort of year and a half of retirement that were presented to me. Had conversations with different head coaches about doing that sort of thing. Life is about timing. That's why, Dan, to answer your question, I don't know, and frankly, I don't care. I'm motivated by the enjoyment and fulfillment of doing something. So for me, I really wanted to call games, and once I started calling games, I said, "Oh, I really like this. I would love to call the finals someday." Did not think it would happen in such a short amount of time, and obviously there was a bunch of circumstances that led to getting bumped to the A team with Mike and Doris. But I get to call the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals this year. Like, that's my motivation. Same thing as a player. Like, I wanted to be really good at I wanted to be great at my craft. I probably settled on really good. I didn't get to quite to great. So it's the same thing here. I want to be great at what I do. I want to enjoy it, and I want to do it with people that I enjoy working with. And so far, it's been wonderful.
He made over $116 million in his NBA.
A lot of pocket watchers over at the Dan Le Batard Show. A lot of pocket watchers.
No, I don't.
Well, we don't have any.
I don't blame you for not caring. You made 116 already.
Yourself.
I mean,
I am interested in the choices that you're making, though, because you have all of them available to you. What is the most fun?
Oh, great question. I would honestly say this. Everything I get to do, I enjoy. There were some things early on, my first year, I signed a 1-year deal. There were some things that I can't say I enjoyed it. I did it because I was contracted to do it. But there were some things like I've been on NBA Today in person, I think 3 times total. Twice my first year in LA, once this year in Vegas for the in-season tournament. I really enjoyed that. When I did NBA Today from the New York studio, you're in a closet for an hour with a camera on you and a screen in front of you. And it's a very small room, and you just sit in there with no cell service, and you don't get more than 10 to 15 seconds at a time. And I'm sitting over there, and I'm like, I'm jealous of the people that are in studio getting to do this, right? So everything I've chosen to do at this point, whether that's been First Take, the podcast, the new podcast, Mind the Game with LeBron, the DraftKings segments that we do on our YouTube channel, and obviously calling games, I enjoy all of it. I would say the best thing for me, truthfully, is calling games. There's nothing like it because you do get that closeness to the game, and you also get a little bit of that performance anxiety that you had as a player. Right before you do the live intro, and then right before, as they're doing the national anthem and the starting lineup, and the producers in your ear, 90 to tease, whatever it may be. That feeling is something that is hard to replicate, and probably isn't at the same level as when I played basketball, but I feel that performance anxiety when I get to call a game, and that's really fun.
Whenever I talk to people who were lopsided because they obsessively did something like Kraft being great at three-pointers, and they lose their identity because they have to grieve or mourn retirement and the fact that they're burying who they used to be. Almost every athlete I've ever encountered, and some are better equipped than others, fails with that transition initially just because it's so hard. You don't seem to have, but did you struggle with retirement?
Dan, I know you like humor on your show, but if you'll bear with me, I'd like to tell a brief story. So going into my last season, unfortunately, coincided with the COVID year. So I spent 6 weeks in the bubble. My son was starting kindergarten in New York, and I knew that entire fall that this was going to be my last year. And we play a game in Tampa, first game of the season, December 23rd. I play well. We go to Miami for our Christmas Day. We got the noon Christmas Day game. And my wife sends me a video that morning. I wake up to a video of Kai, my youngest, running down the stairs to the Christmas tree. And it was at that moment that I let go. I like Doc Rivers always talks about, like, you know, this internal battle that we face as players within a game. And we certainly face that a little bit as we get towards the end of our career. You can't let go of the rope. You're in this tug of war. You can't let go. And at that moment, I let go. So I really struggled that entire season. My parents called me on New Year's. They said that we've watched the last 4 or 5 games. You don't look like yourself. I wept to my mother. I just want to go home. She said to me, well, why can't you? And I said, because I can't let go. And it's exactly what you're talking about. I didn't want to let go of that part of my ego. I didn't want to let go of that part of my identity. And that entire season, Dan, I can remember games from high school. I can remember games from college. I can remember a random Wednesday night in Washington when I played for Orlando. I don't remember anything that last year. If you said to me, you know, you played the Chicago Bulls when you played for the Pelicans your last season, what happened in that game? Did I play the Chicago Bulls? I don't remember. I don't know who I played that year. I just completely zoned out. And it took a couple months with my performance coach / therapist to get to the point where I could let go of that part of me. It was the most confusing and scary thing. You brought up the word death, and I think any person that has competed in athletics, whether it's been high school, college, professional sports, Olympic sports, when you get to that moment, it is like a death, and it is a grieving process. And I was very fortunate. I would say I was fortunate and lucky in some ways, just due to timing, because I was one of the first guys that had started this player podcast revolution. I had a podcast. I was already going to be doing that podcast. I had 1 year left on my deal with Cadence at the time. And I got asked by Dave Roberts and my agent. They really pitched me hard on doing a year contract with ESPN. It gave me something to do. It gave me a sense of purpose beyond just being it. I remember there were days that first year where I wasn't very busy with ESPN yet, and I was only doing 1 podcast a week. And I'd have like a Thursday, Friday, and my kids are in school, and my wife's doing all the stuff that my wife does during the daytime. I'm sitting there at home. It's 12 degrees outside in New York City. What am I doing? Right? So this part of the athlete life cycle is incredibly difficult. And I would pose this to anyone who has played any level of sport or athletic. When it ended for you, were you sad? Did you grieve? Was it a hard transition? When you got done with your last high school event or your last college event, or maybe you played overseas, or maybe you played on the Corn Ferry Tour for a couple years, was that a difficult transition? And I would say the vast majority of people would say yes. Now imagine dedicating your life, 30 years of my life, to one thing. LeBron talked about it on Mind the Game. You have to sacrifice loved ones. It was such a selfish pursuit, and I was all invested at all times. and then that ends. Of course it's difficult. And it was very difficult for me despite the fact that I had other stuff going on.
He mentioned Mind the Game, new episodes every Wednesday on YouTube and wherever it is you get your podcasts. What did your parents see?
What did my parents see?
Those last few games, or those games where they could tell watching you on television that, what are you?
The parents know the look,
Well, but you're what?
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are they noticing?
You know what's funny? They weren't the only ones that saw it. I took great pride in a player, and when I ask coaches or I ask GMs about certain guys, one of the things I always want to know is, are they the same person every day? Do they come to the facility and they say hi to people? Do they talk to the trainers? Do they interact with the assistant coaches? Are they in the weight room talking to their teammates, talking to the performance staff? When they get to the arena, are they saying hi to the arena people? Are they saying hello to the PA announcer? Are they going over and saying hi to Reggie Miller if it's a TNT game? Are they the same person every day? I stopped being that person. And it was clear in my body language. It was clear in my facial expressions. And they weren't the only ones. Josh Tiven, playing the Boston Celtics that year, Josh Tiven came up to me before a game, and he said to me, "Hey, man, you don't look like yourself. Is everything okay?" And I didn't know how to respond to that. I was 9 minutes away from competition. And so I went back into the locker room and cried a little bit. I come back out. I was a little ornery that day, and Josh gave me a technical for yapping or something because I thought Aaron Nesmith fouled me. And then the very next possession, I spun the ball a little too aggressively at him, and he tossed me out. And it's a very, infamous moment in my career where I just, I got thrown out for tossing the ball back to the referee. There's a backstory to why I threw the ball. I didn't actually mean to throw the ball at him. I thought the guy closest to the scorer's table was making the call to the scorer's table. It actually ended up being Josh, who was down there, and I was trying to spin it around Tristan. I put a little too much English on it. Him and I have worked it out, but that's what I mean by what my parents saw and what Josh saw as well. And I'm sure, Darnell, our assistant coach in New Orleans, he would talk to me at, pregame shoot around or at walk through in the morning. He's like, "What the hell is going on with you, man? This wasn't the guy that was here last year." This is hard, man. It was hard.
We have players like Kevin Love in the league embracing fixing your mental health. Where do you think we are right now in the league when it comes to mental health?
I think we're in a much better place than we were when I first started in the NBA. I think the fact that guys like DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Love, coaches, everybody's just more open about it. And it's talked about in public forums. I've had chats with young players, even in retirement, because I'm always available for guys if they need something. Are you talking to anybody? I know you're dealing with this issue. Are you talking to anybody? And it's no longer a taboo thing to be like, "Hey, guess what? I'm in a little bit of a high pressure situation." This is the thing that always annoys me. It annoys me when we do the discourse thing. And Dan, I know you've gotten on me because you're like, "You choose to be on First Take and you make fun of it." And I'm like, "That's fine, dude. I recognize what First Take is. I recognize what this whole ecosystem is, and I have no problem with it."
Whoa.
It's fun and entertaining. Dan, hold on.
Who's gotten on you? Who's gotten on you? I like what you do. I like how disruptive you are on First Take.
People on your show.
I don't like how you treat Mad Dog. He's an idol to me. That's all.
I'm just saying. And you're not. This show's not the only one that's ever pointed out the hypocrisy of it. I'm totally comfortable with that. My point though is the idea of who is under more pressure. It is the stupidest fucking question, and excuse my language. We are all under pressure at all times. That is the nature of a highly competitive, highly cutthroat, 450 jobs, eight-man rotation. That's 240 basketball players in the world that get to play in the NBA on a consistent basis. There is always pressure. And there is a cloud that is on you every single day of the NBA season. It is not till the offseason that you don't feel that. There is a weight on you. So that's the pressure that exists in our sport. So the fact that guys are now seeking out just someone to chat with, a trained mental health professional, I think is wonderful. And I give credit to DeMar specifically and Kevin as well for leading this group of players, this generation of players, into recognizing that it's okay. It's okay.
UConn Purdue tonight, 9:20, way too late. Who has more pressure?
I was hoping you'd do a spit take there. I was hoping you were going to spit take there.
I got him as he was drinking.
You almost got him.
That's great.
I
Great.
enjoy what it is that you do on First Take. I enjoy how disruptive you are. I enjoy how smart you are. And when it comes to questions like that, most pressure, I enjoy that Shannon Sharp has to say to you, will you please embrace the hypothetical? We can't do a show. And you're like, they tried to foist this on me in the pre-production meeting, and I didn't want to talk about it there either. I like that you pull back the curtain on all of that stuff, and I like what you're doing in general in the media. But I want to circle back around to what you were saying about your son letting go and the Christmas tree. Can you tell me what was happening there? Can you take us back to that moment and how it is that you were able to let go?
Yeah. So, this was 2020. So he had just turned 4. He was about 4.5 years old. And anybody who's had kids knows the joy that a 4.5-year-old has on Christmas morning. And so he runs down the stairs of our apartment and he sees the Christmas tree all lit up and all the presents that Santa has brought. And it was hard because I didn't get to experience that moment with him. And again, that was also, I think it was harder because I had played on the road before on Christmas. I think I played 12 of the 15 years in the NBA. I think I had a Christmas Day game. Sometimes my family would come, sometimes they wouldn't. But what was hard about that was I had missed 6 weeks with them. It was closer to 8 weeks, actually, because I had to go to New Orleans early to report to market. So I'd missed maybe 8 weeks that prior summer. And like the off season, if you have a family in professional sports, whether you're a coach or a player, like the off season is like the bread and butter. That's like the sweet spot. That's why you do it. So you get the real time with your family. And I had missed out on that. And then it was like, for some reason, it was that moment of seeing the joy on his face that I said, oh, I can't do this anymore. I've missed too much.
When you talk about things that annoy you, and there are many because you articulate them all the time, what annoys you most about the way basketball is covered by the mainstream media?
Again, I want to be fair here. People watch discourse shows. The discourse shows go viral. There are funny moments. There are entertaining moments. I think Stephen A., I've worked alongside him for almost 3 years now. He's one of the smartest people I've been around. He really, truly is. And you can disagree with some things that he does or whatever, but I've genuinely enjoyed it. I think what annoys me is that the game gets lost. That the things that I grew up watching and the things I grew up being talked about, that has been lost. And it's nearly almost universally specific to basketball. And it's really interesting. I'm sure you guys are going to talk about this, and I'm sure you followed along. It's really interesting what has happened over the last 2 weeks in women's college basketball. We have witnessed some of the best performances in recent memory. We certainly, I'm not going to get into the GOAT debate at all, but Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Don Staley as a coach, like we're in real time witnessing some of the best basketball players and coaches in that sport. In all of basketball, I should say. I'll be fair, in all of basketball. And we've spent 2 weeks on the. That's what annoys me.
Mind the Game, new episodes every Wednesday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, I imagine is the zig to that zag, right? When you complain about people don't want to be educated, I'm guessing that you, as someone who appreciates the roots of basketball, I'm guessing that you being across from LeBron James are simply awed by being able to pick that mind.
I've always had a deep appreciation for LeBron and the mental side of his game. And obviously I competed against him. I didn't play a lot in 2009 in the conference finals, but, I'm sitting there on the bench watching what he's able to do. 38 points a game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists with 0 spacing. And I'm like, he's different. He's different. In the same way that I watched Kobe Bryant, he was different, and I've had Luka's the same way, Jokic is the same way, James Harden is the same. Like, these guys think the game and they court map the game at a different level. And there are certain coaches now that I get to interview before games that you ask them a couple questions and you're like, okay, these guys think about this differently. And there's a lot of joy that I get out of that. And it's an incredible opportunity. I don't look at it as like an opportunity for me. This is an opportunity for any basketball fan to listen to one of the greatest players ever talk about the game of basketball. We saw that for a few years with Kobe, and God rest his soul. I think him being gone, there's a void there. Like, how many of the all-time greats are talking about the game? I don't know if there's anybody. I just don't know. And so it's an opportunity for fans to get an inside glimpse at how the game works, the why. I never forget when I first signed up to do ESPN, somebody asked me, what do you hope to do? And I didn't know what the landscape was. I truthfully did not know First Take was a debate show. I'm being honest with you. I did not know that. And I was like, I want to help explain the why. Like, I want to help explain the why. Why are you putting 2 on the ball against Steph Curry? Why is Draymond catching the ball with no one in the middle of the court and he's got a 4-on-3? Why are they back cutting out of the corner and Draymond's hitting Iguodala or Andrew Wiggins on a lob pass for a dunk? Why is that happening? It's a great pass. It's a great cut. It's a great finish. It's beautiful to watch. But why? And that's essentially what this show is. There's a level of why things happen the way they do.
JJ, did LeBron finish the sentence, do you want to host a podcast with me, before you said yes? Like, was he able to finish that sentence, or you just said yes when he called?
Well, how do you know that he called me?
I don't.
Yeah, see. Huh. So you're making assumptions here.
Right.
You're making assumptions. That's interesting.
But had he called you,
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation.
You're good.
You're good to answer that now, JJ.
Oh man. Look, I we met in December. Group of us met just to have a sort of initial conversation, and I think it was trying to figure out, the biggest thing was just trying to figure out what the show was, what it would look like, what the format would be. We went through different iterations of it. I think it wasn't about like, yes, I'll do it. It was like, all right, let's figure out how to make this work. I mean, even now it's like I'm flown to LA twice to record these episodes in person. I live in New York City, man. It's like trying to figure out how to make it all work. It's not like a seamless thing. He's an active player trying to get into the playoffs and make another run. So the logistical stuff of it has been interesting to try to figure out.
Got a couple of rapid-fire questions here before we let you go. Mind the Game, new episodes every Wednesday. Do you believe that your podcast partner, LeBron James, flu-like symptoms, that he missed last night's game because he wants Minnesota to be the #1 seed so he can face them in the playoffs instead of Denver?
I have no reason to believe that's the case.
Other than Jokic, like, why would anybody want to play against? Why would anybody? Never mind the oldest player in the league. Why would anybody want to be playing against Jokic?
You know, there are different points in time in my career where teams would do that, and I'm not saying the Lakers are doing that at all because they haven't secured a playoff spot yet, and I'm sure for them, wouldn't it be nice to win the 7-8 game and not have to play in an 8-9 single elimination game? So I don't think that's happening. But there were times in my career where teams would do that, and there were a few times where it came back to bite them. So just be careful what you wish for in a matchup.
We played this game before with you. I'm going to play it again. Shot for your life, okay? Shot has to go in. You can only choose
He
one.
understands what shot for your life is.
I'm just making sure, trying to clarify for the audience.
He's one of
Dan.
the smartest players in the history of the league.
Yes.
Complicated game.
Yep. But shot for your life, JJ. Okay, here are your choices. Yourself or Caitlin Clark. JJ or CC.
Wow. I think last time I was on the show, you asked me or Larry Bird.
Yes.
And I answered me, and I'll answer me
and I
again.
can't believe you're still here.
Yes.
Yeah. It's amazing. I'm going to say me again. I'm not putting this. I don't want my life in the hands of someone else. Okay. I will trust the probably close to 1 million shots that I've shot in my life. I walk on a basketball court right now. Give me 25 shots, 5 shots at each spot. I'm making 20. So I got an 80% chance of being alive.
Last question. True or false? It's done for the old people. The young people will be the ones who win the championship this year in the NBA. True or false?
Oh, interesting. And who? I need some delineation here of who are the old people and who are the
under
young people.
30. It's not going to be Kawhi. It's not going to be the guys who have run the league. Run the league.
Not Durant, not LeBron.
Yeah. I think I will say the young people. Young people.
I will tell you again that J.J. Redick is making very good choices with his media career, and it is going to be a wildly fulfilling one for him.
Dan, since he doesn't remember, J.J., I wanted to remind you, your final game for the Pelicans, 22 points, 9 of 15 shooting. It was on a Wednesday night.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
You don't remember? You don't remember? You don't?
No, you know what? That
that
sparked a thing in my brain, actually. Garrett Temple, who locked me up in the 2006 Sweet 16 when he played at LSU. Shout out to Garrett Temple. Great dude, great pro. So happy he's had the career he's had. He guarded me that game. And I remember after the game, he came up to me and said, "Hey, it's good to see you get your mojo back." And I always appreciated that. And I don't think I scored in double digits again.
JJ, good seeing you. Thank you for making the time, sir.
All right. Thanks, guys.
It's very easy, Stugotz, because ESPN is so giant for people to take shots at ESPN for a variety of reasons. So I'm seeing a lot of this in the coverage of what was Caitlin Clark, Iowa against South Carolina. Avery Wilkes writes on X, "This is absolutely heartbreaking for ESPN." Drew Tripp follows up with, "They must have said Caitlin Clark 257 times in the final 5 minutes of the broadcast. She's all they can talk about. She's done more for this game than anyone, blah, blah." They say as the back-to-back national champions celebrate off camera in the background. Then someone else writes in, Ebony Robinson, "ESPN is doing a whole package on her on SportsCenter as if she won. Zero respect for a 38-0 championship team. It's despicable."
I understand why people have that reaction. I can only speak for myself when I tell you the reason I was glued to my television on Friday night and yesterday at 3 o'clock was not because of South Carolina, although they are great, undefeated, won a national championship. The reason I was there was to watch Caitlin Clark. So people could say what they want, but someone who has never been that into women's college basketball is now into it, or at least was for the last couple of weeks, because of Caitlin Clark and that Iowa team. I know South Carolina is great. I know Dawn Staley is great. She should be the next head coach at Kentucky, but I was there. My wife was there. My kids were there because we were watching Caitlin Clark.
Basketball has done a great job of trafficking off of its star power in general. ESPN saw its highest-rated basketball game ever Friday night. That's a staggering thing to say.
Yes.
Friday night on ESPN was the most watched basketball game at a time that our streaming services are more fractured than ever. Our attention is more divided than ever. Friday night was the most watched basketball game in the history of the worldwide leader in sports.
You had 14.2 million viewers on a Friday night. Friday night. That's a night where people go out.
But I also understand why it is that people who have appreciated this sport for a long time are looking at all the newcomers. This happens with bands all the time. You want some of these things yourself. I remember it happened to us when we went to ESPN. People were all sorts of pissed off because what was theirs now got to be everyone else's. And then you get a bunch of newcomers coming and doing what you just did, which is, hey, I'm here now, and I've got a lot of opinions, and then next thing you know, Amin Elhassan is a better coach than Kim Mulkey and can change everything she was doing and fix it in a day, because you get a lot of newcomers who come into the tent. But basketball, better than the other sports. Football, we've talked before about the fact that they're wearing masks. They're all disposable. The only stars you get in football, stars, like with mass appeal, are the quarterbacks. You know their faces. Everyone else is interchangeable. The grand majority of people listening to this probably don't know what Justin Jefferson looks like if he walks into a room.
Mostly quarterbacks, the rogue center, and a tight end.
That's right. The Kelseys and some quarterbacks. Right. So you need the star power to get people into the tent so that they now are interested in the emotions of Dawn Staley. So that when she's talking about the game, from her vantage point, you're awed by the reverence and the perspective that she has, going undefeated, articulating the greatness that you just witnessed, that she cares about. She doesn't care how people got into the tent, because you just have to be thrilled that people are in the tent. But I do understand why that then leads to, why is it that all we're talking about is Caitlin Clark? There is no one who gets to just be popular all the time. I'm sure there are many people listening to this who are tired of the Kelseys and tired of Taylor Swift, tired of that. There's always a reaction to the overreaction of the media when everyone starts gathering around, and now everyone has an opinion talking about the thing. And late Friday night into Saturday morning, everyone's a college basketball referee.
If Caitlin Clark was the reason that you watched, Stu, I genuinely believe you, even though you lie about everything. I think that's great. Like, I think that's a great example of how ESPN was able to sell you her story over a season and why it was important and why it mattered. I think the criticism comes from, why couldn't we make a 38-0 season matter? Because that's a really unique and pretty rare thing to happen in women's basketball. And so I understand why fans of South Carolina, or just maybe people who aren't fans of any team in particular, are like, why didn't they get more coverage this year? And I agree with that. I was at Asia Wilson's book signing at Books and Books in Coral Gables the night that I saw Mario Cristobal and gasped on the sidewalk. And I asked her, because she played for South Carolina. She's been in the WNBA for I guess 5 or 6 years now. I can't do the math off the top of my head. She was drafted in 2018, I believe. She's been an MVP. She's won championships. And I asked her, how has the coverage of women's basketball changed since you became a pro? Because this year, obviously, the ratings have exploded and there's been a ton of interest in the college game. And part of her answer was that, she felt like South Carolina wasn't getting the attention that they deserved. And this was a couple months ago. This was before the end of the season. But she was like, my alma mater is undefeated right now, and I feel like we're not getting enough attention. And I think that rings true for a lot of people. There's more than one thing that can matter in a season. And I think that Caitlin Clark getting attention is absolutely deserved. She deserves it. She is a phenomenal college basketball player. She is one of the GOATs, Dan. But I think that there's a lot of other storylines.
There can only be one GOAT.
There's a lot of other storylines in college basketball, and I think we hopefully can someday grow to have the attention span to follow multiple at once.
ESPN did not do a good job covering this. ESPN did a great job covering this. What Elle Duncan was doing on a set that has looked like no other set before it in the history of sports coverage.
Very entertaining.
Was a camaraderie entertainment and informative, and there were a whole lot of people who were learning in real time, because I don't know how many of those 14 million were newcomers, but it had to be a lot of them that were gathering around just to find out, what is all the fuss about? What do you mean there's a woman who could shoot with the range of Steph Curry? What do you mean that that's a thing? So the novelty of it, but it doesn't matter why it is people get into the tent. The thing to me,
just get them there.
The thing that matters the most to me is that I did not know that this tent would not be large enough to hold the number of people. You are talking about football numbers. Thursday night, Amazon tried to get into the streaming game of sports by getting professional football, the easiest bet that can be made, not just in sports, in television. Their average audience on Thursday night was not what Friday night's college basketball game was. It was 4 million smaller than what Friday night's college basketball game was, and ESPN was, at least in part, able to cover it that way because of the sheer amount of money that was pouring in, because everyone realized at the same time, holy shit, there's a revenue stream here that must be addressed that we did not know would proliferate this way, when at the start of the pandemic, the women were complaining about how their training facilities were compared to the men. That was 3 years ago.
They still didn't have the correct three-point lines at one of the regionals. Like, the NCAA deserves very little credit for any of this. Like I said last week, they fell ass backwards into this. They have never given the women equal treatment to the men's tournament. They didn't even let them call it March Madness until 2 years ago. So let's not, it's not like the times have changed. They haven't. But I think one of the things that this tournament in particular has going for it, and why it's such a disgrace that this hasn't happened sooner, is that everyone knows the March Madness format. Everyone understands it's a single elimination tournament and knows what the stakes are. They know how hard it is to win a national championship and what happens if you lose. Your season's over. Only one team ends with a win at the end of their season. And so it's really easy for a casual fan to jump in and understand immediately what the stakes are. And you can't compare that to a Thursday night football game. I love football, don't get me wrong, but like, there is no comparison to that with what we saw this weekend, especially Friday night with UConn and Iowa. And also, I think there's a real brand recognition thing that people have, with Caitlin Clark, because she's in tons of commercials. She's a superstar. She's on billboards, everything. But also, Iowa is a brand everyone knows because it's a humongous university. UConn is a brand everyone knows. They've won 11 national championships. It's easy for a casual fan to just jump in and immediately understand what the stakes are. And I think that, like you said, ESPN, especially with the panel they had during the tournament with Shanae and Andrea Carter and Elle Duncan, did a really, really good job of breaking every single thing down and explaining it to the audience, and they should get tons and tons of credit for that. And I think that if ESPN is smart, they'll make that a weekly show, even in the off season, and they'll just continue to build up more and more storylines, because there is more than just Caitlin Clark. And I don't know. It was just awesome to see how many people tuned in, and it might be hard to replicate that, but hopefully, the networks pick up and realize more coverage equals more eyeballs.
When you say stakes, though, yes, of course, the one-and-done stakes are something that is March Madness from the beginning of time, and yet nothing approaches football. I don't care if it's a Thursday night game streaming or not.
I'm still shocked by it. I'm with you.
Nothing approaches football. When you look at the top 100 shows on television every year, it's always 96 football games, and then somebody interviewed a prince in a scandal or something. Oprah interviewed somebody. But the idea that Amazon's making a giant bet. First of all, I can't believe, Stugotz, when I watch some of these broadcasts, Apple, for example, what they're doing with baseball, their coverage, what I'm watching, is stupendous. It is unbelievably good, crisp camera work that I don't think people understand how hard it is for the streaming services, how much money it takes to broadcast a game successfully. What's needed there. Amazon has all the money in the world, did it on Thursday nights impeccably. The idea, if you had told me at any time in my life, Jessica, that there are any amount of stakes that I could put on any game anywhere and it would do better than a streaming service attaching itself to professional football on Thursday night, I would have told you football has to have collapsed. Something bad has to have happened to football. It can't be that another sport has come in and gotten better numbers than football.
Yeah, but the difference is that my parents don't know how to turn on Amazon. You know what? They do know how to use cable.
There were probably 3 million people just like, how do you do this again?
It's buffering. It's buffering.
The Wi-Fi
the
password.
Wi-Fi's out.
What is it, buffering? So many people on hold.
Also, like the thing we've said about Thursday Night Football for years is like, man, these games suck.
Yeah, but it's still football.
Agreed. No one's going to dispute.
Titans, Jags.
Look, you're right. It's always the Jags. It's always the Titans, always in disrepair. No one's arguing that it's good football. We're just saying it's football.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations, excuse me, brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, just 96 calories, available for delivery. I got rid of it, Roy. I think. I did
It's
it.
Probably
there.
not.
You haven't gotten rid of it. It's still there. We can hear
Now
it.
I did. It's gone. Dan, over 20 years of doing this show with you, it's the only thing I've been consistent about, that this week is the best week on the sports calendar. Can you smell it, Dan? Spring is in the air. Magnolia Lane, Amen Corner, Butler Cabin, and of course, the azaleas. Ah, the azaleas. The sights, the sounds. Hello, friends. And Dan, just like that, make no mistake about it, Masters Week is back. You excited? Little flyer on Tiger? Huh?
Chris Cody says he's betting Tiger at 100-1.
I mean, I bet him every week to begin with, and now you get a little juice with him. I mean, jeez.
Who you taking?
I don't care.
Speaking of back, Razorbacks. How about that?
Yeah, they are.
UConn, Purdue, rare game where whoever wins, their coach goes to Kentucky. Norby Williamson out at ESPN. Does that mean I can go back now? Huh? Dan, you know what the N in Norby stands for? Huh.
Whoa.
No?
Not a moment too soon for me. Not a moment too soon.
That was a question. I had a question.
You did ask it.
Yeah, he asked the question.
It was
there.
a question.
More like a reckless speculation.
I was asking a question.
Here's the problem with the foul call at the end of the UConn-Iowa game. It was a foul. An obvious foul. Everyone, stop complaining. Nika Mule, defensive stopper. Headline, Tiger Woods has stopped having sex to prepare for the Masters. Tiger, got news for you. Hasn't helped my game. Little flyer? Huh?
No.
Probably not the day to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do this.
You are going to do it.
I'm going to do it. Dan, you know what this C in Caitlin Clark stands for?
Oh, no.
Not championships. I definitely don't want to do this. I'm not doing this.
You're going to do it.
Dan, you know what the C in Clark stands for?
Not clutch.
Chris Paul.
Oh, wow.
CP3. No way. Not doing this today. I'm not doing this. This is where I draw the line. Not doing it.
No, this is equality.
Top 5 women's basketball players of all time. OLI. Caitlin Clark.
Wow. Whoa. Whoa.
Number 5, Shamika Holtzclaw. Number 4, Brittany Griner. Number 3, Diana Taurasi. Thank you. Number 2, Cheryl Miller. And number 1, Brianna Stewart. Stewie.
No Candace Parker.
Sorry. Only 5.
It's his list.
Yeah.
Not even an OLI, though.
Caitlin.
Maya Moore?
Ooh, Maya Moore. Dan, you're Kentucky. Coach K calls. What do you do? What do you do?
Why would Coach K be calling?
Why wouldn't he call?
Because he's retired. Because he's done.
You know what the K in Coach K stands for, Dano?
Kentucky.
Hey.
I thought you were going to go call there.
I should have. Damn it. Seeing Coach. What do you do? Anthony Rendon batting .094.
94.
I like to go .094.
Annie likes to approach it as if there's a giant speed bump before it.
The A in Anthony Rendon stands for automatic outs. You're right. Speed bump. Total speed bump. For $35 million a year, Rendon went 278 days between hits. For context, he had a teammate this year that got drafted, got promoted to single A, double A, then the majors, between hits. $35 million.
My late grandfather and his late brother used to say more than any other words in their life in Spanish, that guy is an out dressed as a baseball player. That's the phrase they most use.
A couple of late guys cutting it up.
Couple of dead guys. A couple of dead guys cutting it up. Not a couple of late guys cutting it up.
Oh, you said the late.
I know. But
I didn't want.
It doesn't mean that they were tardy.
I don't want to be too heavy-handed.
Yes,
I didn't know if you were over it yet.
So it's like God disguised as Michael Jordan, but it's like this guy is disguised as an out.
That's right.
Same-
No, an out
Oh.
that's dressed as a baseball player. There's no disguise involved. It's just
Is an out.
It's just an out, and it's dressed as a baseball player.
Zach Edey, after 10 years of bully ball at Purdue, it's about time you've had to pick on someone your own size. Almost.
There's no one his size.
Donovan Klingon. Kling Kong. I am not staying up for this game. LeBron James commenting on the foul at the end of the Iowa-UConn game. All of a sudden, everyone's got an opinion on women's college basketball. Jesus, LeBron. You know what the J in LeBron James stands for, Dan?
I do not.
Johnny come lately. Where's he been?
I guess it would be a James come lately in his case.
Maybe. New York Knicks, I'm begging you. Please get him.
Now what? What are you doing? You were actively not wanting him a month ago.
Treat him as the number 1 overall pick. Do whatever you have to do to get Bronny. He gets you LeBron. The Knicks, Dan, are a Bronny away. He would fit in nicely there.
Your words mean nothing.
I
Like
know.
a month
I
ago,
know.
you just
You're right.
you are. I was looking at you a month ago.
Listen,
What do you
I'm not
mean
gonna-
you don't want LeBron James?
You're
You were
acting
saying
like I'm
you do-
arguing with
Well, the
you.
Knicks were winning games
They
back
do
then.
mean
I don't.
They lost Randall. I'm not arguing with you. You said my words mean nothing. I agree with you.
Plus a 2-for-1. You got Bronny also. I mean, why not?
Right. Upside. Katie Martin doesn't get enough credit. She's a good player. Not enough credit.
I think it's Kate.
No one's talking about her. That's why. That's why I don't know, because no one's talking about her. Katie, how would I know? No one says her name, and her friends call her Katie.
But in terms of her not getting credit, what's worse, her not getting credit or you demanding for credit
if
and
someone
not
gave her credit,
knowing
I would know her
name?
name. I mean,
yeah,
not on me. It's on Ruco.
yeah, of course.
Cindy Afalter, also not enough credit.
Agreed. Faulty.
It's unbelievable.
Her name's Sydney. I said the wrong name.
Hey. It's on Ruco. Lisa Blooder?
That's the
I'm
coach.
asking.
That's the
I was
Iowa
asking.
What are you
coach.
doing? What are you doing?
Well, she said Kate Martin was the glue to the Iowa basketball team. Glue girl? How do we handle this stuff?
What stuff?
Johnny come lately over
Saying
here.
girl?
What stuff?
I don't know.
How do we handle what? What's the
Anything.
confusing stuff? Talking
It's
about.
on Ruco. I mean,
Okay, it's all on Ruco.
That we can agree on.
Masters Week, Dana. E-Clipse. E-Clipse. Spencer Strider, out for the year. Shane Bieber, out for the year. In 2020, Steven Strasburg signed a 7-year, $245 million contract. Since he signed that contract, he started 8 games, went 1-4 with a 9.62 ERA. You sign a pitcher to a long-term big contract, you get what you deserve. Biebs. If you combine the Mets and the Marlins, they would still get swept by the Dodgers. Chauncey Billups, inducted into basketball's Hall of Fame, Dan. Mr. Big Shot.
Inducted.
Speed bump.
E-Clipse.
Masters Week. E-Clipse. Ruka. If it was up to Knicks fans, Jalen Brunson would get a statue outside of Madison Square Garden, the Mecca. He is good, man. Anyway.
Yes.
He's really good.
Yeah,
no one expected him to be this good. Nobody.
I know.
Nobody.
That's true.
Crazy. He doesn't do it often, but when Giancarlo Stanton makes contact with a baseball, I feel bad for the baseball. Taking a flyer. Tiger Woods to win the Masters at plus $13,000. I love a good flyer. In honor of Masters Week, top 5 people in sports and entertainment that connote the Masters. It's a good one, Dan. OLI. JJ Putz. Josh Birdie. Number 5. Anyone with the last name Butler. Anyone. Brent.
Jimmy.
Did you just make it Brent Butler or Brett?
Well, there was a Brent and a Brett.
There was?
A lot of people don't know this, okay? But there was a Brent Butler and a Brett Butler.
Who is Brent Butler?
Look it up.
Okay,
Oh,
there it is.
crying out loud.
There's
He's a
the move.
musical artist named
There's the
Brent
move.
Butler.
Thank you.
Brent Butler played for 3 seasons between 2001 and 2003 for the Colorado Rockies.
He was talking about the leadoff man
He
for the
obviously
Braves
was not
in
talking
the
about this
90s.
person.
He's not talking about the comedian Brent Butler.
Why didn't you just pick someone?
Number 4,
Because he's lazy.
Is it
Master P.
Josh Birdie or John Birdie?
Look it up. Number 3, Ben Coates. You like that one?
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Great tight end. Number 2, Iggy Azalea. And number 1, Amen Thompson. Here come the Royals.
It's not called the Green Coat. I hated that list.
Wow.
It is called the Green Coat.
Called the Green Jacket.
It doesn't. Bubba Watson said he had 2 green coats. He told me that. He's won 2 of them. He said green coat.
Dan has a couple green coats too. Not the same as the jacket.
Couple of green coats, cutting it up.
What he actually told us is that they only get 1.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get another one if you win another Masters. It's bull- Yeah, it is.
It's not called a coat.
It just isn't. And he's not a great tight end.
There was no one named Jacket.
I feel crazy right now. I'm leaving. I have to
Ben
pee.
Coates.
Green coat.
I don't know the difference between a jacket and a coat. Put it on the poll, Juju at Le Batard Show. Roy, what are you
Red coat.
What are you Are you laughing about? I have to leave. I'm going to pee.
coat.
Yes,
I'm
verbatim. Yes.
I'm gonna pee. This Stugotz's brand of laziness is now infecting everyone.
do
She
you
was
mean?
eating during the first hour and she just left during the segment, saying she's got to pee.
The Bucks were 30-13 when they fired Adrian Griffin. The Bucks are 15-17 with Doc Rivers. Grass isn't always greener, Dano.
Man, that is weird to watch them lose to these bad teams. I know the Knicks last night are not a bad team, but the 3 before that are bad, and it's weird to watch them struggle like that.
Can't wait to see who Doc blames after losing in the first round. Doc Rivers' diagnosis is never himself. Purdue and UConn, 9:20 p.m. my ass. No chance in hell I'm staying up to watch that. Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
couple of months ago, Stugotz, I had mentioned when talking about the amount of theft and desperation that are everywhere in our country at the moment, that Amazon packages, I can't imagine how much money is being lost in people simply stealing packages that are being left somewhere. And I saw a video over the weekend that made me laugh at the lengths that someone was going to steal a package, because there are so many Ring cameras and doorbell cameras that are allowed to catch people while they're thieving. And I saw somebody dressed as a garbage bag walk slowly up to the door and basically swallow a package, and I hadn't seen it done that way. It was a level of desperation that I had not considered. It looks very much like a garbage bag. I just don't understand why you wouldn't just wear a mask. I don't understand. Can you guys walk me through what you imagine this thief's game plan was? Was this thief thinking that this thief was, because look, that's the
old
thief,
moving garbage bag,
the thief walking backwards. It looks very much like a garbage bag. You'd have to look pretty closely to see that there are sneakers involved there.
You don't get height, you don't get weight, you don't get skin color. This is genius. Like, I know, haha, this is funny for the giggles of, oh, a person in a trash bag. This is as good as it gets. It might as well be an invisibility cloak.
I think you're being reckless. I don't know. This isn't just a magic trash bag.
That's right.
Yeah.
If this thief was smarter, they would have walked a couple feet and stayed still for an hour. Walked a couple more feet, stayed still for an hour.
I should have done that.
Walked a couple more feet, stayed still and then if you're watching the security footage, you're like, okay, there's just a bag there. And then
hold on a second.
Is that bag moving?
They're in slides. You can see toes if you look very closely.
Huh.
Hold on a second. Look at the turn.
Oh, yeah.
Wait for the turn.
Yeah.
You're going to see the tips of toesies here. Hold on.
Oh, they're not
There
flip-flops.
they are.
You're right. They're not sneakers.
There's
Chris,
some toes.
is this the toe that was under your stall in the bathroom at Oktoberfest?
These are what kind of? Those are like pantuflas. Like, what are those? Those are like fuzzy.
I think those are like
slippers.
the modern day slip-ons that you see everywhere.
The performance slides.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
Got that thick bottom.
Kind of nice.
Pricey. They're honestly pricey slides.
Unless
I
they're
was going to
fake
say the
toes.
same thing. They're like $80 slides.
Foes.
It's not very efficient, though, in terms of trying to move quickly, in and out.
But it is well concealed. We can agree that the concealment is pretty complete, although I would say that those particular pantuflas are indeed incriminating. I don't know if there are many just like that. They seem to be a little different than most I see.
Can't believe you would go through the lengths of covering your entire body and then wear shoes that don't cover your feet like that, especially considering the athletic element of it's way easier to stumble or twist your ankle wearing these sandals, unless it was just a challenge to themselves.
You can't believe that there would be an inefficiency in this plan?
Yeah.
You're
all the lengths of doing
It's
this.
well thought out.
You're
I don't
stunned that
know.
there would be holes in this particular caper.
Well, there are no holes in the garbage bag, Dan.
This heist is something that you think is imperfect.
Look, I've never seen it before. This is a creative effort, and if they're going through that effort, I'm surprised it wasn't a foolproof plan.
I just love because, in theory, this person could have just walked like a human, and as long as your upper torso, you're not going to see anything. But this person was thinking, if I stay low enough, they're going to think that I'm just a trash can. Like, in this person's mind, he's like, I don't know how I can get caught. I don't know how I can get caught here.
Trash bag, and I'm willing to say this, Billy, while it's nice of you to always be that careful, that's a dude. There is no Billy.
You have no evidence.
Billy.
There's a level of dumb there.
I like to believe that women can be criminals too, Dan.
I like to believe
Equality.
that men are the only ones capable of this profound stupidity.
Well, the thing about this is this person knows the person they stole from. Like, I'm going to go out and assume they know the person that they're stealing from because they know that package is getting there that day and what it is. And when you're wearing those shoes, your friend's going to recognize those shoes. This person messed this up.
Yes, we've covered that. However, what I would say to you is I don't understand why you would object to my absolute conviction on that being a man, and then you think it's not reckless to hypothesize that this is clearly a person that knows the person that they're stealing from. Like, which do you think is more accurate, your assumption or my assumption? That it's a man, my assumption that that has to be a man doing that, or your assumption that that has to be a thief who knows who they're stealing from?
I mean, historically, like murders and stuff like that, it's usually someone that you know.
I got a hypothetical.
And a man.
This guy,
That's true.
it's a guy for sure in this hypothetical. This guy ordered something to his house that was inappropriate. He was ashamed to pick it up, so he covered himself, made it seem like it was stolen, but really it's actually him and it's actually his.
He robbed himself?
He robbed himself just so his wife or spouse never realized what that was. Maybe the wife saw the package and was like, "Did you order this?" He's like, "I would never order that. What are you talking about?"
Or it got delivered to the wrong address. So it got delivered to the neighbor, and they were embarrassed about what they ordered.
So this isn't even a crime. This person's just going and picking up what they ordered.
Yeah,
It was
that's
delivered to the
exactly
wrong
right.
house.
Just saving themselves from the shame of everyone knowing what it is that they ordered.
I would argue that women know how to crouch like this from years of crouching over public restroom toilet seats, and therefore I could see an argument.
Wow.
You think that might be a woman?
Never put your butt cheeks on the seat, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Big squatter.
She nailed it.
Speaking of video, I'd like to show people the latest video that incriminates that blight of against my people, Angel Hernandez,
Oh,
the
boy.
worst umpire in the history of basically making judgments. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is Angel Hernandez the worst person in the history of judgment?
It's his job.
It is his job, that's right, to be an arbiter, but the umpires union is very strong. Let's play here some, for the audience, some video of Angel Hernandez being maximum Angel Hernandez. Here is some B-roll of a check swing, like clearly not a swing.
Could not have swung less.
I mean, it would be hard.
Swung less.
It would be hard to swing less than that, though. It's not. It's clearly not a. It's not a half swing. It's not even a check swing. Like
Not
that.
a single part of the bat goes over the plate. Yeah. If you can, like, if you're just listening, like, it is just a terrible call.
It's a
Trust me.
high and tight pitch. It nearly hits the batter in the hands. And essentially the only movement is as they're going forward in their motion like they normally would to swing is pulling their hands back into their chest.
Yeah. How does this guy have a job?
The
I
union
wish
is
every
very-
union was as good as the umpires union.
In Angel's defense, do you think, hey, who would swing at that? Like the mere fact that you started a swing,
Yeah.
you know what? You swung.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, it's high and inside, high and tight, Dano.
Is Angel Hernandez
Chin music.
in that? Forgive me for not understanding or seeing in the video. Was Angel Hernandez the first base umpire there who was making the call, or was he from behind the plate so confident that he didn't even have to go to first base to see if there was a check swing that was a strike?
He did the point thing, like, nope, that's a swing.
He was the home plate
Yes,
umpire.
yes.
He didn't even go check with somebody else. He was just had a great deal of conviction about his own.
I got this one, first base coach, umpire.
It is. All right, let me see some more. Do we have some more just Angel Hernandez video being maximum Angel Hernandez? What is this, Billy?
This is Angel getting mad at the Yankees pitcher. So a lot was going on in this game yesterday between the Yankees and the Blue Jays. I believe this was the second incident. So what happened earlier in the game was the Blue Jays pitcher kind of stumbled off of the mound and then decided to throw the pitch anyways. Gleyber Torres was batting, and he was like, whoa, how is that allowed? He didn't, like, re-engage. He didn't look at me. He just threw the ball, and it was clearly a ball, and Angel called it a strike regardless. So on that play, multiple things went wrong. So there was chirping back and forth, and neither team was really all that happy. See, that was the one that I was talking about right there, where the pitcher kind of stumbles off the mound, throws it anyways, and he's like, hey, like, what's going on here? And Angel's like, nope, that's a strike. Aaron Boone went out there. He was arguing, like, how is that allowed? Because I believe it was the third strike, and that ended the at-bat, and he's like, this should not be allowed. Everyone was a little bit unhappy with Angel yesterday. So then their pitcher, Luis Gil of the New York Yankees, he did not engage with a Blue Jays batter, which is what didn't happen with the Blue Jays pitcher. And then Angel decided he wanted to enforce this rule, and then he was telling him, no, you're not allowed to throw the ball anymore. So Angel walked out in between the hitter and the pitcher to make kind of a scene and say, hey, you were wrong about that. And that wasn't even Angel's worst thing of the day yesterday, because Angel had one that went right down the middle that he called the ball.
What do you think his perception of himself is?
Oh, he loves himself.
He laughs at himself.
Do you think he says it's a perception out there? I'm a damn good umpire, or is he just like, I got this whole thing fooled. I got everyone fooled.
I think he's great for baseball.
I do too. I like him.
I love him. I think every team should, when you're blessed with an Angel Hernandez game, you know it's going to be wacky. It's going to be something that you haven't seen in quite a while for your team. Everything is getting so precise. Umpires are getting better and better every year based off the data that we've seen with pitch tracking, even though everybody wants robot umps, except for Angel Hernandez. And it's always going to be ridiculous. You're always going to be, both teams are always going to be upset. It's great for baseball.
The thing is, Angel's really doing a service to baseball if you think about it, because they brought replay into it, and it was a situation where it's like, well, now there's replays here. So you can't really dispute a call. You can't have the manager go out there and argue anything, because they'll just go to replay, and then the replay tells you what it is that happened, and that's it. That's the end of the story. But Angel finds a way to kind of get around replay, because he'll do this in plays that are not reviewable. So he's brought back the element of the manager coming out and being like, what the hell is going on here?
In full uniform.
Arguing with him in full uniform, because he does these on all these plays that aren't reviewable.
Do you realize how rare it is to have someone this incompetent never get any consequences?
No.
Jemele, I want to play some video for you here of a bunch of Heat players making predictions on the Iowa-South Carolina game. I want to ask you if you notice anything about this video of Heat players making their predictions on the game yesterday. Put that video up, please.
South Carolina, Iowa. South Carolina, I'm going with Iowa. South Carolina. South Carolina. Roll with the Big Ten. Iowa. South Carolina. South Carolina. Oh my God. I'm gonna go Iowa. South Carolina. Iowa.
Huh. Did you notice anything there?
No.
Are you going to say it was split among racial lines? Because I don't think it was, because I thought I saw somebody black pick.
Jamal Cain
Yes.
saved us from a race war amongst the Heat.
Oh, thank you, Jamal. Thank you. Woo, I was getting scared there. I was like, oh, no, don't let all the black people pick South Carolina.
I mean, they were undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I was like, I don't think it's just that. It's like South Carolina is undefeated. They were the heavy favorites. Maybe some of them watch women's college basketball a little more closely than others. Dan, it's not always about race. I hate to tell you.
How great has the last 4 months been to see these numbers explode, where you get to a place on Friday night that ESPN has the most viewers it's ever had for any kind of basketball game?
Yeah, to see the growth of the game has really been remarkable. My first beat that I got when I became a reporter professionally full-time was at the News and Observer in Raleigh. And I covered women's basketball. I covered Duke, North Carolina State, and University of North Carolina, all, kind of at the same time. So I was there when North Carolina State went to its first Final Four in 1998 with Kay Yow as a coach. And then when the WNBA started, Charlotte had a team, and I also got to do a lot of coverage of the start of the WNBA and just seeing where the game was, just in terms of interest, in terms of style, media attention, all of those things. It's just so far and beyond what it used to be. My friend LaChina Robinson, who obviously played in college, is a great analyst for basketball for ESPN. She had a tweet that I thought really got to the heart of the matter. Seeing these records, these ratings records that were broken over the last week, LaChina tweeted something out like, these records are for the women who are playing in empty gyms, the women who are forced to go on long bus trips to get, back and forth to games, the women who really had to eat a lot of the misogyny, the neglect, the disparity. These numbers and where this game is now is for them. And I thought it was great, because this is the dream that somebody like Cheryl Miller had in her mind, even though, I have to remind people, Cheryl Miller's national television debut drew, I think, 11 million viewers. So, but nevertheless, still, stars like her who have been giving their all to this game for a long time, I think for them, this is just really rewarding to see, because so many people over decades stood in their way. because, as much as people want to think that this is about, oh, they just have a player that everybody likes now, this is finally what we've been telling women. We have reached these inflection points many times before in this game. And what's usually happened is that the gatekeepers have decided not to have consistent investment in the game. And that's kept it from propelling forward. And so more than anything, I'm hoping that this is the moment where the media, the brands, the fans, everybody aligns to continue to support this game and not just one or two players, and understanding overall that this is just a wonderful product to be attached to. But mostly, Dan, I'm happy for those who really laid the groundwork in order for somebody like Caitlin Clark and the attention she's drawing to be possible.
Even at your most hopeful, could you have expected the number that we saw Friday night?
No, and I was thinking about this in terms of what would be the best matchup for the growth of the game. And it's funny because I thought it would be Iowa, South Carolina, and I'm very anxious, unless you guys have some intel. I haven't seen that number yet, but I do think this could be, again, them toppling the number of Friday night. But if that happens, I mean, Dan, you're talking about them setting 3 ratings records in 1 week. And, to give people some idea about how big this number is, I believe last year's NBA Finals averaged somewhere between 13 and 14 million. That was the average viewership for every NBA Finals game. It's beaten a lot of the events that have been promoted and cultivated, the men's events throughout the years. And I think there's a legitimate chance that this championship game could come very close, if not beat what the men do tonight. And so, no, I could not have imagined this. I thought the number would be pretty good, but I thought it would maybe taper off just slightly a little bit from last year. And that clearly wasn't the case. That number is not out yet. We will give it to the audience once we have it. But Jemele, I'm wondering, do you think it will continue into next season? I do, because I think that this has really created some genuine, strong interest in a lot of people. And more importantly, they got to see who's coming next. Honestly, the freshman class that is in college basketball, women's college basketball right now, is a game changer. So if you watch the South Carolina-Iowa game, how could you not see Malaysia Fulwiley, who's my favorite player to watch? And that's no shot at Caitlin Clark at all. But when I saw me and a bunch of my girlfriends, we went to Paris to see South Carolina play Notre Dame at the beginning of the season. And that's when I first saw Malaysia Fulwiley. And I was like, she is incredible. And so you see her, you see Juju Watkins, you see Hannah Hidalgo at Notre Dame, and even the remaining team that South Carolina will have once Cardozo leaves. I mean, the game is in great hands. And I do think that while people recognize there was an all-time great player playing in the game in Caitlin Clark, there was also a lot of great players that were feeding, that will have compelling storylines and give people more than a reason to watch. I also think her popularity is definitely going to follow in the WNBA. I mean, already we saw the Las Vegas Aces announce that they are moving to a bigger arena, something I have to tell people that they've done before. So this didn't just start with Caitlin Clark, but they're going to move to a bigger arena for the game against the Indiana Fever, because presumably next week in the WNBA draft, they're going to pick Caitlin Clark number 1, but they're already going to move that game to a bigger arena because they know what the interest will be. And so I think this is definitely going to carry over, because now we have the additional storyline of WNBA players allegedly hating on Caitlin Clark. And so people are going to want to follow that drama just to see how does she stack up when it comes to truly, with really playing with the best of the best of the best at the next level.
What do you make of that hating that you speak of?
What's so interesting, and I'm gonna tie this to this. Listen, I'm too old to be as heavily invested in rap beef as I used to be. Okay, so they got this whole J.Cole, Kendrick Lamar thing going. J.Cole apologized for some response bars he made after Kendrick Lamar took a shot at him. So it's like this whole mess. I think between that and WrestleMania, the men folk are losing their mind right now. But that's beside the point. It's funny how people are complaining that J. Cole apologized because they want to see beef. They want to see tension, and they hate the fact that he apologized. And some people were even critical of his response rap to Kendrick Lamar, saying that wasn't hard enough. We need some grittier. Same set people when they see Diana Taurasi and Breonna Stewart giving their honest take as players about how they feel Caitlin Clark fits historically, and also Diana Taurasi talking about where she'll fit in the next level. then it's, oh, no. You women, it's your responsibility to politely welcome her into the game. Listen, first of all, there was nothing wrong with what Diana Taurasi said. I saw the complete interview, and she gave her props for being a great player. But she said reality is going to set in the WNBA. Again, 12 teams, 144 roster spots. It is highly competitive. You see great players who were great college players get cut in the WNBA all the time or can't make a roster. And that's not to say she'll be in that position, but it is to say if people are expecting her to average 30 a game at the next level out the gate, that's probably not going to happen. And that doesn't mean that Caitlin Clark isn't good, but there is going to be a difference in style of play, who she's guarding, who's guarding her than what she has seen in the NCAA. I thought this is sports. I thought this is what we often see. And I just find it funny that we're still in that mode that women have to be kind all the time and nice, and they have to, be flowery about their opinions. And to me, it's bespoke more of that. I mean, Breanna Stewart has 4 national championships. If somebody asked her, will she be the GOAT if she doesn't win a ring? What do they expect her to say when she's won 4 of them things? I mean, there's a lot of great women who have won titles, Mino Moore. I mean, like there's a long list. And so in their mind, considering how many great players have won titles, yes, the standard criteria for you to be considered a GOAT is that you have to win. And she was not the only former player that said that. A number of them did. And I don't know, they played the game. I sort of trust their opinion.
When it comes to music, I trust Bomani's opinion. Bomani is really disappointed in J.Cole, it seems like, for not going back into the beef. I thought it showed a maturity.
What's wrong with an apology?
A maturity, a spirituality. I thought it showed
nobody wants that. Nobody wants your spirituality and apology, okay? And granted, I come from, again, I'm not saying that I know the ins and outs of all this beef and why Kendrick, I mean, I kind of know about the beef with Drake, but we're coming from a generation where Pac rapped on Hit 'Em Up, which is maybe to date the coldest opening bar I've ever heard, and also one that made me want to instantly pray and reevaluate my life with God. Those are the kind of bars you want, okay? You want bars that'll be like, damn, he said that in front of his mama and everybody? That's what you kind of want. And so there's a theater to hip hop. And I get that there has been a downside in the sense that we have seen things that have been said on wax, so to speak, play out in real life. But these two dudes aren't that dude. And I think that there was just this expectation that people were finally going to get the heavyweight fight that they wanted to see. So I get it. I get why the men folk are all like disappointed because, thinking about the era I came from where people really took shots at each other in music, this seems to fall a little short. It's like we got mature rappers now. And I was like, now I understand why Andre 3000 said he wants no more parts of the rap world for now. That's why he out there playing flutes. That's exactly why, because he knew he didn't have it in him to do this kind of stuff anymore.
I'm not going to shame one of the best to ever do it for embracing adulthood. No, I know, for denying us the entertainment of please put your poetry. Please let me watch your poetry eviscerate another guy who's also great at this.
Exactly, Dan.
Was it a foul?
Was it a foul on Friday night?
It was not a foul. And
what?
Everything. No. Okay. So here's my take is that to me, consistency is the most important part of officiating. Right. And given how that game was called, there was nothing consistent about that call and where it came. There was also clearly no advantage gained from the play, a slight lean in, a slight little movement. I just didn't consider it egregious enough at that point in the game to make that call. And granted, I am not the person that believes that it is the official's responsibility to necessarily keep our entertainment, our entertainment possibilities alive. Like everybody wanted the players to decide the game. Iowa still could have very easily won that game. Who knows where that offensive possession was going with UConn? Still could have happened. But we watched this great game, for 4+ quarters, and then for it to end that way, it's like, come on, man. Like, it just was such a letdown and a call that I didn't think was necessary. Like, I think if somebody gets a shot off after that, nobody's going to be like, oh, but that moving screen, practically nobody. Everybody's just going to say, okay, they got a shot off, they missed it, or they made it. End of story. So much like, with the Detroit Lions, with the NFL earlier this season, when we saw a fantastic play of theirs get completely ruined, you just don't want to leave people with that feeling of ruining something over something that's so ticky-tack that you've overlooked 1,000 times in the same damn game.
Purdue, UConn, 9:20 p.m. Eastern tonight. You staying up?
Oh, she's on the West Coast.
Oh, shoot. The men are playing tonight?
If you were on the East Coast, would you be staying up?
If I were on the East Coast,
yes.
It would be a fight. I would be fighting for my life by the second half. I'm not going to lie. But I will stay up for this because I do want to see these colossal giants and these big men and UConn and Purdue to see what comes of their matchup. And obviously to see where UConn going for the back-to-back, kind of how they rate in history. So there's some compelling elements that will get me to stay up. And luckily, I am in LA because otherwise I wouldn't have made it, you guys. I'm going to be honest.
There are reports here that Kentucky intends to offer Dan Hurley a deal that he can't refuse, and it would reportedly make him the highest paid coach in college basketball history.
Wow.
Before I let you go here, Jemele, Dwayne Johnson regrets endorsing Joe Biden for president in 2020 because, quote, what that caused was something that tears me up in my guts, which is division. It caused an incredible amount of division. I realize now going into this election, I will not do that. My goal is to bring this country together. I believe in that. There will be no endorsement. At this level of influence, I will keep my politics to myself. It's between me and the ballot box, but I will tell you this, like a lot of us out there, not trusting of all politicians, I do trust the American people, and whoever they vote for, that is my president and who I will support 100%. Your thoughts?
That is the most statement, non-statement I've ever heard. And I love Dwayne Johnson. Like, during my time at ESPN, if you ask people the number one person who they felt like when they did the car wash was like the best person that came through there in terms of like how they interacted with people, how nice they were, it was easily The Rock, or number two would be Kevin Hart. And that's the kind of, frankly, political cowardice that's hard to respect. I don't understand how Joe Biden is the divisive one when what he's running against is pushing bigotry, xenophobia, every other phobia and ism you could possibly name. That is what they're literally campaigning on. Joe Biden is not campaigning on those same things. And so I don't even understand how Joe Biden got attacked for being the one who's dividing people. If he wants to stop the division, then he shouldn't at all make it seem like he is aligned with the side that is pushing only division. That's their entire agenda. They have no policy. All the entire thing that they have is to get you to hate somebody else that you perceive is lower on the totem pole than you. And so even though he said he was going to keep his ballot to himself, he actually didn't, because there's only one other person who will be the presidential nominee. So unless you plan to write in yourself or plan to vote for Donald Trump, you've made your decision that you are voting for xenophobia and bigotry and all these other things that you claim to stand against. So I just thought that wasn't his best moment. And it was so unnecessary, too, because I don't know. I wasn't going around wondering who The Rock was voting for. So I don't know why he decided he needed to share that. That's right. Cue my music.
Friendly neighborhood race lady. See you later, Jemele. Thank you.
All right. See y'all.
Dan, it is time to update March Sadness. We are down to 8 teams left in the tournament. Wow. One more matchup in each region. What are you most excited for, Dan, to hear? Because I know you've been more excited about this than anybody.
I want to hear how the voting is going. It has been behind a secret wall, and so I don't know who's winning, how the voting's going.
The voting is going great. It's on our Instagram, and we've had some upsets. We got a 16 seed that made the Elite Eight in the region of death. Wow. Well, spoiler alert, it's Roy as the Bear. In fact, we can throw that up now if you do. Let's just do that matchup first. You know what? I'm going rogue. Yeah. Good for you, I'm going rogue with our team. And let's not forget that March Sadness is presented by Get Your Guide. Discover over 100,000 unforgettable travel experiences in the U.S. and around the world at getyourguide.com. The region of death has 2 matchups left. 16 seed Roy Bellamy as the Bear going against Lucy's Bobby Petrino as the 3 seed.
Wow.
So Rocky, Stugotz's pathetic 1 seed Rocky of him just wearing, being Rocky Balboa by just wearing a a hoodie of some sort, has been, Roy is a 16 seed from the television show on Hulu, The Bear.
Yeah, it was a poor seeding.
It's a very good costume, and so that, based on voting, has gotten into the Lucy. It's just them two now. And that's all that's left in the bracket of death.
Elite Eight, yep.
So those two, we will see who of those two makes it to the Final Four.
It's going to be Roy.
In the song region. In the song region, the 1 and 2 seeds made it through.
Wow.
We have the 1 seed, and that is, of course, some people think this is going to win the whole tournament. This is UConn this year. The 1 seed, Puka Nacua.
His name is Cooper, good at running curls. But when his hammy got a tear, he saw Puka standing there, his blade diminished. Hostile takeover. Nacua hopped into the car. McVay has maybe found a star, and then Matt Stafford threw him 25 and 2.
It's a classic, and it's going to be tough to beat.
Yep. It's UConn.
And it is going against the 2 seed. And there's a little controversy here with the voting. People thinking that Yeti and Streeter just, they can vote. No one can vote for their songs like these guys. Look, I'm just saying, everyone can vote.
They fixed the voting
For these. No, there's nothing illegal going on. They just vote a lot.
You can't fix the voting. There are too many people voting.
Sure. I'm just saying, last week everyone was being skeptical because this song, We're All Gonna Die, has made it number 2 seed, We're All Gonna Die.
We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die.
People are upset that Jalen Brunson,
That's what should have made it.
was denied its deep run.
I'm not mad about my songs not making it. I think there needs to be justice for Taylor's Jalen Brunson song. An instant classic.
That should be the theme song for the Worldies.
The Apocalypses.
All right, so we move over to the club region. The club region, there's 2 sounds left. We have an 8 seed and a 3 seed. The 8 seed, and this is Lucy, and this was a good one.
I was getting bitches left and right.
So we got bitches left and right from Lucy going against...
This is just Lucy looking for friends on the internet, correct? Looking for friends.
That's exactly right.
And that is going against 3 seed Stephen A. Smith.
You fat piece of.
So not a very nice...
That's a winner, man. Come on now.
What are we doing?
There's bad words in both these.
You fat piece of.
Okay, great.
So who will make the Final Four? Lucy, I get bitches left and right, and Stephen A. Smith, you fat piece of. So you can. I'm doing it. You can vote at our social media. The final region, the Greg Cody region. 3 seed going against this 5 seed. I'm just trying to get on the same page with our video team here. The 5 seed, Nice Hat.
I'm going to do that for 3 years.
Who's the 5 seed?
Trade Marino.
Nice hat.
Nice
hat,
It's what he's most known for. It's not like I'm holding on to it.
Do you remember what Scott Mitchell looked like in that next game after Marino
They
got
were
hurt?
9-2. They were 9-2.
Amazing.
And then they lost their last 5 and missed the playoffs.
Nice
They
hat.
were 9-2. But it's Marino.
Nice
And then the
hat.
next time we saw Marino, after Greg Cody traded him, he threw for 5 touchdowns.
Nice
and he was
hat.
Dan the Man on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You can't trade Marino.
Nice hat.
It's funny every time my dad not understanding that Zaslow can't hear him.
The part of that is funniest is that Greg keeps heckling him with nice hat, and we're just playing video for Greg Cody. I want to play that again for the audience and give the audience that bit of information. Please understand that Greg Cody is just heckling a television. It's not that he's talking directly to Jonathan Zaslow.
Can't trade Marino.
Nice hat. Nice hat, Zaslow.
It's what he's most known for. It's not like I'm holding on to it.
Do you remember what Scott Mitchell looked like in that next game after Marino
They
got
were
hurt?
9-2. They were 9-2.
Amazing.
And then they lost their last 5 and missed the playoffs.
Nice
They
hat.
were 9-2. But it's Marino.
Nice
And then the
hat.
next time we saw Marino, after Greg Cody traded him, he threw for 5 touchdowns.
Nice
and he was
hat.
Dan the Man on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You can't trade Marino.
Nice hat.
So that's a strong 5 seed right there. That is going up against.
Again, they weren't in the same room.
No, it's honestly confusing.
It's like a cat seeing a bird on a
It wasn't
TV
the
and going
same
after
day.
it.
And then Greg Cody sold a bunch of nice hat
It was our biggest seller, honestly.
merchandise.
Shop.thegregcodyshow.com. So that 5 seed, Nice Hat, was going up against 3 seed from Vegas, I Don't Miss My Wife.
topless
Are there any
nun.
good Greg
It's
Cody
unbelievable.
stories not told by Greg Cody about Greg Cody
Yeah.
before we get him out of here?
I have a couple, but I'm not telling them.
Baby.
That's
my
that
guy.
kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
We don't.
No, you know what? I hadn't left the hotel until last night. I'm a very quiet man.
Yes.
You know, I'm a married man. I don't cheat on my wife, despite that gratuitous line back in my day. That I wrote. I wish you were here, my wife. I really miss her. No, I don't. That's the thing about being married. You're not allowed to say, I don't miss my wife. I've been gone 2 days. I haven't been gone long enough to miss my wife. I'm sorry. I call her. I'm on the phone with her for 30 seconds. What am I? Hello. All right. We'll see you. All right. And then, I'm going to see her in 2 days. I was jumping Charlie. Good. And that's it.
I love that part. I was jumping Charlie. Good.
Not how are you doing?
So that's our tournament. Go to our Instagram, vote, see who makes to the Final Four. Very exciting.
Did any of you watch the season finale of Curb Your Enthusiasm last night? The series finale of
Not
Curb
yet.
Your Enthusiasm.
Finale, please.
Seems that I'm the only one in this room that has seen it.
What do you mean?
They'll be back then.
There'll be no. They're not.
They have said this before.
Yeah,
but this time they
not-
said it's for realsies.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's 76, isn't he?
Whoa, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Without spoiling anything, did they leave anything open-ended? Don't spoil anything, but
No.
blink twice.
No.
The Seinfeld finale stunk, I thought. How was this, Roy? Because I fell asleep. I was watching for
Fell
5 minutes
asleep?
and I fell
Well, that's
asleep.
how it was,
Yes.
I think they landed the plane on this one. I think it was a very good series finale.
Billy's making noises back here. He's watched it as well, Billy.
One little comment that leaves some room for something.
There always is.
All right, well put, Billy. Thank you for all the elaboration that was helpful there.
Something that'll lead to something.
I would like some help from the people around here who are more internet savvy than I am. When I am going, and that means all of you, because I believe all of you know more about what is happening right now with artificial intelligence and the ways that the internet fools you and how the internet grabs you by having the keys that it needs to have to your interests. I had show up on my feed the other day just the phrase, Heat's toxic comeback. And then this is what showed up after it. And I just thought, as I was reading it, this was not written by a human being. This was written by a computer. Now, my computer is trying to entice me with some words. Toxic is a word I see all over the place on X. And here is what I read, Stugotz, that felt to me like it was written by a computer because I didn't understand. Heat's toxic comeback. What does that mean? The Miami Heat's potential comeback in the NBA playoffs has sparked a range of reactions among fans and critics with anticipation of a toxic environment on social media regardless of the team's performance. This comes as the Heat might play with a healthy team tonight following a period of inconsistent performance that has led to a divided fan base. Some fans argue that the team is not held to the same standard in the regular season as in the playoffs, while others are concerned about bandwagon fans returning if the Heat win. Critics have expressed dislike for the Heat, noting their tendency to end other team seasons. The emotional impact of the Heat's losses is also evident, with fans expressing being in shambles over the team's loss. Despite the unpredictability, the Heat are more than capable of winning 5 of their last 6 games. Well, first of all, they're not. But that was written by a computer, correct? That's not written by a human being. That's just that's a word jumble that's thrown together because people or something somewhere is putting together a number of words meant to get my attention, correct?
You read that on Sports Illustrated, or?
I'm asking you guys, is that just nonsense? Are you guys discovering again and again that you're being fed something that's not being written by human beings? Are you skeptical? Are you skeptical when you run across?
I'm still
that?
not reading, so I don't know.
I do think with that article in particular, there seems to be this funny thing with Heat Twitter where they're enjoying more going after each other about who's more right about the state of the organization than actually watching the basketball games. So I think it's possible that a real human being decided, let me get in on all of that and create an article out of this. But that does sound like an AI-generated article.
Was there a byline, and what website was it?
No, it was X. It wasn't an article. It was something that was
a series
shown.
of tweets?
No, it wasn't series of tweets. It's just as part of, it wasn't a tweet. It wasn't a tweet by somebody. I can show you what it is. It's just sort of at the top of my, just at the top of something, some things that were trending. I noticed it, and I'm like, why is this here? Like, what is this? What it just felt like it was placed there in order to grab my attention by something. Is this not happening to you guys, where you're reading things and you're assuming that it's not written by a human being?
I'll tell you that the algorithm on X has gotten to a point where if you look at one tweet about a topic, then your entire For You channel is that tweet. Yeah. So at this point, like, my For You is only Miami Heat basketball when I purposefully follow a number of different accounts that are meant for everything else. And yet when I go there, it's just this Heat's toxic comeback.
I don't even know what a toxic comeback is.
I don't even know how that's possible. Is it saying that them coming back in the game is a bad thing? Is it saying that them getting healthy at the right time is a bad thing? Like, I really don't understand what it even means.
Well, I think they're saying, whoever wrote it, that the fans are toxic. That some fans are okay with them kind of mailing it in during the regular season because they'll get it done in the postseason, and some fans hate it.
I feel like it's just a computer that knows how to make things divisive.
I think these are questions an editor would ask a writer to clarify before they publish something.
Did you write this, or did a computer write it?
Who's being toxic? Please clarify.
I saw Stugotz. I don't know. Here, give me the stat of the day music. I will give it to the people here because I want to. I just read something the other day that's an announcer said Mike Trout goes yard to pull the Halos within 7.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day.
Mike Trout has 4 home runs this year and 4 RBI.
4 solo shots, huh? No Shohei there anymore to be on base at least.
I thought the stat was going to be the amount of times Trout is homered to bring his team within 7.
Jessica today was telling us about, and I still have not seen this. I don't know what world it comes from. Is it mixed martial arts, Jessica? You said that somebody got slapped so hard that a banana came out of the banana peel?
I don't know if, again, I saw this on Twitter, and I don't know any of the context. It's bare knuckle boxing. The guy in the left's name, I think, is Cub Hawkins, but I just saw this video, and the banana just goes flying, and I immediately thought this is something that 3 years ago Dan would have talked about for 45 minutes on the Le Batard Show.
How did that happen? How did the banana? Oh, well.
So it's looking like.
Oh, wow, that could happen.
Let me paint the picture for the people listening. It's like a weigh-in face-off type thing. One of the guys is holding a banana. The other fighter slaps the guy with the banana in the face, and his reaction sends the banana flying out of the peel.
Well, the hand that was holding the banana kind of jerked up.
But
right?
it's
squeezed.
But at first you just think he throws all of it. No. He squeezes the banana out of the peel, so the peel is still in his hand, and he's like dazed with a peel in his hand.
Okay, for the people, this is amazing, funny, and sad. That's Dada 5000, a street fighter from Miami, and you're coming up to the weigh-in publicity with a banana in your right hand. And comically, that banana is indeed cartoonishly peeled down to the side so that you see both the peel peeled down and half of the naked banana is exposed. And the slap catches so cleanly that the guy holding the banana gets a little knocked out, and half of the banana that was squeezed ends up going over Dada 5000's shoulder. That is amazing.
Where's it been all show?
How did we get to this late? The banana. And there's no one at that weigh-in. That happened in front of no one. There was no one there.
So I was right.
You were right, yes. And Chris Cody is right when he says, do you know the amount of force that has to be squeezed in order to make that banana fly over the shoulder?
But the banana stays intact. It's not like it gets like squished. The banana somehow is intact, flies out of the field.
Intact. Half of it is still in the knocked out guy's hand, but the other half is not.
When JJ Redick was talking about someone on the show criticizing him for having hot takes on First Take, I'm pretty sure it was me, but it was such a take that I had no conviction in. I was just doing it to stir the pot that I'm not really sure. But was it any of you?
I was worried it might have been me too.
No, really?
I think we all may just be worried, like, oh, did JJ hear me talking crap about him?
I can't remember if I said anything bad about JJ Redick, but if I did, I didn't mean it.
I assume I did jokingly at some point, but I don't know.
It was a little awkward for a minute. Okay, well, I'm just going to pretend it was you.
Okay.
And not worry about it.
It was probably Stugotz, but it could be something that I told Stugotz, so.
That's also something I was thinking. Maybe I just said it in Stugotz's ear.
Yeah.
Not that we ever do that.
You know.
Something happened in the national championship game that we didn't talk about today. An Iowa fan who was watching the game, the camera panned to a group of Iowa fans celebrating, and his chair just broke in half. And I'm wondering if you are this fan, how quickly you're calling a personal injury attorney and making sure you get your money's worth from this one.
Bad job by him. You got to go down there.
He was startled, to be fair.
It was he wasn't expecting it, but.
Can I tell you my tailbone still hurts from when Billy tackled me a couple weeks ago?
Oh, man.
I'm not kidding.
My shoulder, too. I have an icy hot patch on it today.
Yeah,
Someone really should do something
I've been doing
about
some
the
extra
working conditions
stretching.
here.
Yeah,
It's a shame if Genesis came back for him.
This video almost looks like this is like on an airplane, and like it's like, hey, your seat can be a raft too if you need it to be. Like the way with the ease of which that seat popped out.
Put your arms into it and float away.
There's a flood in the arena.
I'm just saying, if there was ever a flood in that arena, that guy's good to go.
How does that work if you're him? Like if
I thought you meant
wanna-
on an airplane.
No, like who does he sue? The arena?
The arena, for sure.
Yeah.
Look at the
that's the way you do it.
useless guy behind him that just points. The guy in the row, look at he's like, look, your seat fell.
And this lady's like, I don't care.
What do you
It
think
is amazing.
What do you think he would get in a lawsuit, and how
I
much
mean,
would he keep? Because the lawyers would keep like 40%, right?
I'm with Chris. He popped up way too quickly.
Yeah.
He
It's
had
all-
to slide down a few steps, I think.
It's all because he just lifts his legs first, so he just puts full weight onto the chair.
I would, if we could see that in slow motion. It's okay if we can't, guys. But you are so right, Jeremy. The way you would like be excited with your arms, he does that with his
Right.
feet.
He's so sunk. So he's so sunk
He's
into the
starfished.
chair. Right. He's so sunk into the chair to begin with that when he goes to jump, when his body makes the reaction to jump up, his legs actually go straight out into the air with his
No,
arms, and thus all of his weight is on the chair, which is why it snaps.
He looks like he's doing a swimming move, but upside down. Like he's doing the breaststroke in midair, and then he falls on his butt. Yeah, that's a good call, Jeremy.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
What was the first thing we had slow motion for?
Ever?
Yeah. I'm just thinking back, man. That had to be quite the technology the first time you saw it. Yeah. You're like watching something on TV. It's like, wait, I can see this in slow motion too. I'm just digesting being able to see this at all, and now I can see it slowed down.
It was probably like when they made those little photo books that you'd like flip through and go.
Yeah. Oh, I used to.
'Cause you just put extra frames.
Let's
in,
all
right?
guess
Just
before you
make it
say
look
the answer.
Really slow.
Yeah, I used to love doing that. Let's all guess the year in slow motion.
This actually reminds me of a new game that I'm addicted to.
I'm going 93.
1893, maybe.
Oh, was it way before that?
Did you mean 1990?
Oh.
Okay, we need to play this game then. It's called Wits and Wagers. I played this with my friend Priya last week. Have you heard of this game?
I have not.
Okay, so the premise of this game, it's not technically a board game, but there's like a little kind of board thing that you roll up, and you get a question, And the question will be like, what year was the camera invented? And everyone writes down an answer, and you put it down at the same time, and then you put wagers on whose answer is the closest to being correct. And you get little chips, and you wager a certain amount of chips, and then if you win, you get a bunch of chips back, and if you lose all your chips. And it's so you're kind of guessing based off of, probability, but also what you think actually is correct.
I would not like this game.
Well, based on your answer, I think you'd be pretty bad at it.
Everyone will be waging me like, oh, he's definitely wrong.
For an example, one of the questions was like, how many points did Michael Jordan average in the NBA? And then like everyone puts down like 30 points, 35 points, 40 points. And then you're like, oh my God, I don't know. Could it be 40? That seems high. Maybe it's 30. Maybe I should 29. Hedge and put a little bit of chips on this and a little bit of chips on that. Anyways, I'm obsessed with that game now. It's the new Monopoly deal for me.
Wow.
So do we want to know the answer? Or
I've been waiting here, Jeremy. I mean, geez.
1993.
It says
30 years ago
that it was invented by Austrian priest August Musker in the early 20th century.
Are you reading it in slow motion as a bit?
Yes.
Oh.
The early 20th century, that's kind of broad.
Yeah, it doesn't say a specific year. It says that it was patented in 1904 and first used on a projector in 1907.
So not 93.
Yeah, not 93. Just a little bit off, though.
Almost.
Yeah, almost by
100
100 years.
You would lose this game, Chris.
All right, goodbye.